Yeah, this is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Montani versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies have seats.
Just step up here, please. This used to be your boyfriend, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Miss Montani, this case is an interesting one, pretty unique even for me. Your daughter and the defendant's son were dating, and these two young people decided to go into a business together. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that business involved the purchase of a pig, a breeding pig. And what were you going to do with this pig?
We were going to breed her and sell the piglets for people to show during the fairs.
That was your intention?
Yes, ma'am.
So each of you put in how much towards the pig?
$250 each.
And when did you purchase this pig?
June 3rd.
You have a picture of the pig?
Yes, ma'am. I have a few pictures.
Now, from what I gather, the pig remained at your house, Mrs. Smith. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And did, in fact, have 2 piglets.
Had 10 baby piglets.
And each of you kept one, and you sold the others?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you sell the others for?
$100 a piece.
At that point, you made $800.
We kept 2. Each of us kept 1 each, also to eat because they were smaller than the others. They were runts.
I'm asking, you sold 8 piglets?
No, ma'am.
You sold 6?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got $600. Now, what did you do with the $600 that you got from the piglets?
Crystal can answer that. She's got it broke down into what they had done with it.
What did you do with the $600, Crystal?
$128 on feed, $50 for warmer. We bought Nick's official dress for FFA, which was $76.
Okay, so you spent the money on things involving the business with this first litter. But then you each kept a pig.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I read that you went to a fair and your pig came in?
Second place.
Second place. And how much did you win?
$1,100.
And you got how much?
500 something.
And you kept that money, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you kept your 1,100?
Yes, ma'am.
So right now, this is so far a really good business. This is a really good business.
And a bunch of charming pigs.
And a bunch of charming pigs. Did you see these pigs?
Oh, lovely pigs. Some BLT, huh?
Shh. Okay, now, this lawsuit is about the fact that you two are no longer in business because you're no longer a boyfriend and girlfriend, so you want your initial $250 back, right? And also some investment that your mother said she gave them for cement for the pig pen. You're not getting that back. Forget it. Let's talk about the initial $250 investment. Do you believe she's entitled to that back?
In a way, yes, ma'am, but the food also has cost way beyond that.
Just a minute. Is this pig pregnant again?
She was, but she's had another litter since then.
Really? So since you're no longer boyfriend and girlfriend, she's had another litter?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many did she have in the other litter?
She had 15, but 2 died.
Okay, so that's going to give you $1,300.
Yes, ma'am.
She's only suing for $250. You know, when you're in business together, just because you break up, that doesn't mean that she's not entitled to a fair percentage of the business. That would include a piece of these 13 piglets. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am, but that was after we had left, and that's after I was going to buy her out of her business, and that money came from my own personal money after she had left.
She left. What do you mean she left? You broke up. Just because you broke up, the business doesn't die. You still got the pig. Let me try to draw an analogy that maybe you'll understand. Let us say the two, look at me. Don't look at your mother. Look at me. Let's say the two people, stop playing with your papers. Let's say the 2 people decide to go into business and they open up a restaurant together and they each invest $5,000 to open up the restaurant and they make their money back, just like you did. Got your initial investment back, but this restaurant really takes off and this restaurant is now worth a lot of money. People break up, girl leaves. She says, I want my $5,000 back that I put into the restaurant. You should say, here, take it. Because let's say your restaurant at that point is worth $100,000. She'd be entitled to half of that. Not $5,000, $50,000. Well, she invested half of the money that it cost to buy your restaurant, Miss Piggy. And Miss Piggy, so far, is worth a lot more than her $250 investment. You had $1,300 that she didn't partake in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
$14,000 from an initial investment of $250. That is real good math. And all she wants is her $250 back. What do you think?
And later today,
He sent me a letter on March 23rd saying that I'm smart, I'm talented, I'm attractive.
I assume that you became interested in a more than professional relationship with the plaintiff. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Montani says Stacy Smith and her son, 16-year-old Nicholas Link, owe for the cost of a pig.
All she wants in this lawsuit is her initial investment back. You should be very grateful, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because in 6 months, your pig is going to have another litter of pigs. I don't know how many litters do they have in a year.
2 probably.
So let's say in any given year, they're going to have at least 20 pigs. Twice a year. You're going to make $2,000 a year. How many years can she go on and have piglets?
She can only be bred about 6 or 7 times.
Well, let's see. So let's say you got minimum $2,000 a year times 7. That's $14,000 from an initial investment of $250. That is real good math. And all she wants is her $250 back. What do you think?
Yes, ma'am. That would have been paid to her when this whole thing started, but it just wasn't $250 that she was asking for. She was asking for, I think it was $475.
Right, she was. Well, I just told her that she wasn't going to get the $475.
Yes, ma'am. If that wouldn't have been there in the beginning, the $250 would have been paid straight up.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. That's all.
All are excused. You may step out.
She came in the first year at the fair higher than Nick, and the second year she got more money through the auction.
She didn't want to take the time to talk about it or discuss anything.
Her jealousy of my daughter always making better, and it caused conflict.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I think Judge Judy did a good ruling, and I just want to get on and have the same opportunity that he had and start in the business.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Arrington versus Boston. Step forward, please.
Massage therapist Kathleen Arrington is suing former client, retired attorney John Boston, for the cost of her services. John is countersuing for the cost of his services, defamation of character, and for an injury to his thumb.
Miss Arrington, you are a massage therapist?
Yes, I am.
And Mr. Boston is an attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you practicing now, sir?
I'm almost retired. I still have a license, but I don't have any clients at this time.
Ms. Arrington, according to what I've read, you and the defendant entered into a barter arrangement. You would provide him with massage therapy, and he would do some legal work for you, problem that you had with a phone company.
That's correct.
And it is your claim that you performed your part of the service.
Yes,
He did not.
that is correct.
And you are suing him for the value of your services because he didn't perform his part of the barter agreement.
That is correct.
Okay. And Mr. Boston says that you actually owe him money because he did provide services. He worked for many hours on your legal problem, and at so much an hour, he discounted it, so you owe him a lot of money. And in addition, he says that you weren't a very good massage therapist because you damaged his thumb, and he's had all kinds of problems, and he's had to go for treatment and therapy. He has his hand in a splint anyway. So this whole barter agreement didn't work out very well. When did you make this agreement, Ms. Arrington, with Mr. Boston, and how did you find him?
Mr. Boston came to me for a general massage when he found that I knew how to do neuromuscular massage.
Do you advertise?
Yes, I do.
Do you have an office?
I use my home, a room in my home.
Okay. How did you find her?
Your Honor, I saw an ad in the paper, the Austin Chronicle, which said, "Enjoy a glass of wine with your massage." My regular massage therapist was out of town, so I called her, and on the 28th of December, had a massage which I paid her $130 for.
And when did you make this arrangement with regard to barter?
At the end of the second massage, on January 4th, we had been just exchanging information on both the massages about what we do and what we do in our life. And I had told him twice that I was having trouble with MCI, that I had a defective phone line. They were not giving me the refund I needed. I had lost a lot of time taken off from my jobs to be there the 26 or 27 times it took to get them out to fix the phone, which was still dead at that current time. And he suggested that we barter. He would take on the MCI problem, try and get the money back.
How much money are we talking about?
At the time, I thought about $800. Mr. Boston said that he could probably get that back, plus some money that I probably was entitled to because I had lost so much work on the 26 or 27 or 28 times they had been to my house to fix the line. So it sounded like something that he could handle. He assured me he could handle it. So the barter began, and we did the first massage and the barter arrangement on January 19th.
Okay. And how many did you do on the barter arrangement?
9 massages, 3 of them were for an hour and a half long on the barter system.
Okay. From when to when? From the 19th of January until
From the
when?
19th of January to the last time he came in 3 times in one day on March 10th. By this time, all I wanted him to do was finish the MCI thing. He was vague about it, and I never heard from him again until he called me around March 20th. No, he sent me a letter on March 23rd saying that he liked me, I'm smart, I'm talented, I'm attractive. Then he said he didn't have time to work on my case because he says if I'm hired by cash clients, taking care of their needs comes ahead of other considerations.
Let me see the letter.
In the same thing, he also suggests an hour-for-hour swap. Can
I see?
I've highlighted most of them.
So, at some point, Mr. Boston, I assume that you became interested in a more than professional relationship with the plaintiff. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. I was divorced 2.5 years before. I was not dating anybody at the time, and I was looking for a relationship, not necessarily romantic, but just a friend. And we did a lot of things together during that time that were social and not professional on the spot.
I assume so. I assume that that's true. I mean, I've read the letter. The letter is clear that there were some discussions prior to this letter being drafted. Is that right?
I tried to keep it as professional as possible. When he refers to, he took me to dinner, he took me to a cafeteria.
Was your case settled with MCI?
No, he walked out. He never even called.
Was your case ultimately settled?
Yes, they gave me credit for $200 and they disconnected my phone because they were waiting to hear from him.
Well, I don't know that. Do you have a letter to say that says that?
No,
Okay.
I called him.
Can I see the work that you say that you did? I want to see the work, sir.
Right.
Mr. Boston, listen to me, sir. That is your entire file on the case?
No, ma'am. There's quite a bit of all the correspondence,
I would assume.
but that's the work product file.
No, I'm talking about the file on the case, sir.
Those are the letters exchanged between the agencies that I corresponded with, that I talked to on the phone, the Public Utility Commission of Texas, the Better Business Bureau of Texas at the state and national level, the Attorney General's Office of the Attorney General of Texas Consumer Protection Division, and then I got the top letter that you have there from their office of the MCI.
Just a second. Just 1 second. What do you get for a massage?
I get $85 an hour. It depends on the type of massage I was doing on him. It's $85 an hour.
Lawyers get more. But that wasn't your arrangement.
No, it was hour for hour.
Your arrangement was you would do massages and you would take care of a legal problem.
Right, I did.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay, well, at least you tried. I mean, there's no guarantee if somebody takes on your legal problem.
May I address the court, Your Honor?
I'm speaking. There's no guarantee, Ms. Arrington, if somebody takes on your legal problem, whether you pay them in barter or whether you pay them in cash, that they're going to get the result that you want. That's different from a massage. Hopefully, if you give a massage to somebody, they feel better. He says he didn't feel better. You want to get the second part of your complaint? You say that you were injured by the plaintiff.
Your Honor, it's a violation of the Health and Safety Code, of the Health Code of Texas, to overtreat a massage client. Between the fourth day of February and the 12th, she did massages on my thumb. It was hurting me, and I told her. She said, I'm breaking up calcium, it's going to help. Well, it's become chronic. I've seen 4 doctors. The first one was back when I just got back from a trip to see my daughter in Seattle. That would have been early May or late April. And he said, tape it. Then I went to my general practice physician. He said, put a cast on it whenever you're not doing something that has to take the cast off, use the cast. And then I went to my orthopedic surgeon, and he examined me, and he wrote up a report of that I can submit to the court.
I'd like to see it. Mr. Boston, you don't expect me to accept this as proof that the plaintiff injured you. You have arthritis in your thumb. That's what people get, arthritis. We all have arthritis. You don't know what time he spent on the telephone finding out who to write to, speaking to someone at the Better Business Bureau, speaking to someone at the Regulatory Commission. You have no idea what that is, and there's no way for me to quantify that. Listen to me very carefully. There's no way to do that, madam. That's what happens when you have a barter arrangement. You were giving him massages, and according to you, you gave him massages, 9 massages. And if you felt as if he wasn't doing work for you during that time, I assumed you would have stopped.
He started asking me for sex, and I didn't know how to get out of it.
You get out of it by saying, "Give me my file back." If that's true, you get out of it by saying, "Give me my file back. I want nothing more to do with you." That's what you do.
Then what do I do about the money he owes me for the massage?
You strike it and say, "I made a mistake."
I brought a copy of what I did on him. I also have...
Listen to me, madam. I am not going to say what you did for him is worth more than the work he put in on your file. He did, in fact, in his capacity as an attorney, perform a service for you. The fact that you weren't totally satisfied with his service doesn't mean that you get the money back for the massages. Just like the fact that he wasn't totally satisfied with the massages that you gave him means that he gets any money back from you. Do I make myself clear? Both of you. You made a mistake. Next time, get paid for your service. Next time, get paid for your service so that you leave us out of it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
In the matter of Gorbach versus Dagrapont. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Gorbach, you were hired by the defendant, according to your complaint, to be Santa during Christmas season at his store or mall. Is that right, sir?
Mall.
Is this your mall? Do you own the mall?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Well, what do you do with the mall?
I operate a photo promotions company that specializes doing Christmas and Easter promotions in shopping centers.
And how long was the Christmas season?
6 weeks.
Okay. And you claim, Mr. Gorbach, that you quit.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you received your final paycheck, you were shorted in pay. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The defense is he gave you absolutely no notice, and that caused you some damage to your business.
Correct.
When did you start working for him, sir?
I started work on November the 13th.
Did you answer an ad in the paper? Is that how you got the job?
No, I had visited the mall a number of times, and one of the photographers had called me over and told me to call Mr. Dagrapont if I was interested in being a Santa Claus.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were your duties explained to you?
Well, the only thing we discussed was pay. I was over the phone, and he had quoted me $12 an hour pay plus overtime and a bonus at the end of the shooting in insurance.
What kind of bonus?
Well, that was dependent on the amount of money they made.
Okay, never accept a bonus based upon what somebody else tells you they're going to make. Yeah. That's not smart business. Okay, so you worked for a while, and what happened?
Well, when I first started working there, I kept time. In fact, I kept time the whole time I was working, the amount of hours I worked and the days that I worked. And when I got my first paycheck, I noticed that the pay was not $12 an hour, I was told. No overtime was included. It was only $8 an hour. So when I talked to Mr. Dagrapont about this, he told me that I had misunderstood and that he had told me $8 an hour, but there'd be $1 an hour raise every year, and at the end of 4 years, I'd get $12 an hour.
At the end of 4 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Well, this was, an oral agreement, and I figured, well, I didn't have anything to back up on, and I was having a ball. I enjoyed being Santa Claus at the mall.
Were you working at another job as well?
I had a couple of daycare centers that I did Santa Claus for, and I enjoyed doing that. I've been doing that for years.
Okay, but other than that, you had no regular job?
No, ma'am, I'm retired.
You're retired. Okay.
So I decided, well, like I said, it's an oral agreement. I can't back him up on it.
So you decided to work for the
So I decided to go for the $8 an hour.
Okay.
So about 2 or 3 days later, Mr. Dagrapont came up there and told me, Santa Claus is smiling too much. Quit smiling. I said, well, everything I read about Santa Claus, he's a jolly old elf. And I enjoyed having fun with the kids and all. And being as I was having fun, I would continue doing it. But when the job quit being fun, I was going to quit. So that ended that discussion. And then I think it was the following Thursday when I was getting ready to leave the mall, 2 of the people in the mall came to me and told me I was going to hear some very bad news the next day, that they had overheard Mr. Dagrapont talking to one of the little girl photographers.
All right, well, don't tell me what anybody else told you. What happened the next day?
Well, that Friday, Mr. Dagrapont was in, and nothing. He worked there about 4 or 5 hours and left, and I didn't hear anything. But when we were closing down that night, one of the little girls called me over, the photographer called me over and said, Mr. Dagrapont says he wants you to stay on the seat, the Santa Claus sled, the whole time you're here. Don't get up and go visit the children. Don't go visit the adults. That'd be taken away from time. But when we're not taking pictures, that was fun. In fact, I encouraged quite a few people to come get pictures by just going out there and visit them.
So you went out in the crowd?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I stayed within the confines. We had a little fence, and I stayed within that.
But you didn't just sit in the sled?
I didn't sit in the sled the whole time.
Okay. And this was one of his employees that told you?
Yes, ma'am.
That you were to stay in the sled and not
she said
mingle.
she was informed by Mr. Daguerre to tell me that this was the new regulation.
Okay. And you did, in fact, tell somebody that he was to stay in the sled?
As required by our contract with the shopping center.
Whatever. You did, in fact, make that statement.
Did.
I just want to make sure. So it was after that, sir, that you quit?
Yes, ma'am. I called him that night and asked him what was the reason behind this. He told me the same thing. This is a requirement of the mall. And I said, well, I told you before, when the job quit being fun, I quit. So we had a lengthy discussion, and I told him, tonight's Friday, have somebody else out here Saturday.
Okay.
And I quit.
Now, when you quit, sir, on that Friday, how much were you owed?
I had 46 hours I had worked at that time, according to my schedule.
Okay, so 46 hours, and it was $8 an hour that you agreed to work for.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's $368, right?
Every day.
Okay. All right, Mr. Daguerre, let's hear you.
Your Honor, Mr. Gorbash is a wonderful Santa Claus, and we really enjoyed having him work for us. But he has a little problem with math. I've brought the official records that are kept by the managers in the booth, as well as a copy of how he added the hours up, and I think if you look at it, you'll see that the math is incorrect.
How many hours do you say you owed him, sir?
The last paycheck, we owed him 37.5 hours.
Okay. Did you pay him?
Yes, we did.
You did pay him?
We issued him a check, yes, ma'am.
Did you ever get a check from them for 38 hours?
37 and a half hours.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do with that check?
I contacted Mr. Daguerre and I asked him why I was not getting paid, first of all, for the $8 an hour that I was supposed to be getting paid, and that I was shorted hours.
Just a second, you mean he paid you less than $8 an hour?
Yes, ma'am. He cut my pay to $5.15 an hour.
Did you do that?
Yes, we did.
Why did you do that, sir? That's going to cost you money.
The fact that the contract, that oral contract that we had with Mr. Gorbash was one that he had agreed to work till December 24th. But he not only didn't work to December 24th, he quit 20 days early, failed to give us any reasonable time to find a replacement, even though we begged him to. And I just felt that
unilaterally cut his pay.
I felt that he breached the contract and I was no longer required to pay the agreed amount.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Come on, listen. I wasn't born yesterday. Being a Santa Claus at this man's age is not something that you sign on for with an annuity. You don't say, well, if you're a good Santa Claus, in 4 years we're going to give you more money.
And later today,
you left the defendant with your father's phone card.
Right.
Your father got a whopping bill.
She made $849 worth of phone calls plus taxes and fees, which came out to $1,015.
Big talker.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Father phone card. Sit.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Department store Santa Melvin Gorbash says promoter Don Daguerre owes him for work. Don says Melvin breached the contract when he didn't show up for work.
All right, I'm going to ask you this question, Mr. Daguerre. Mr. Gorbash, I believe, based upon what little I've seen of him, wasn't doing this job for money, necessarily, because if he was doing the job just for money, he certainly wouldn't have quit. Right?
Right.
He had a good time doing it.
I agree.
He's retired. You get a pension, sir? Or,
yes, ma'am. I'm on medical retirement.
So he doesn't need these extra couple of bucks. Tell me about the $12 an hour that you discussed with him when you spoke on the phone. Did you ever say to him, Mr. Daguerre, salary is between $8 and $12 an hour?
I told him the salary was $8 an hour, yes.
You mean he's just making up the fact that $12 an hour was mentioned someplace in your conversation?
Well, I may have said that we pay Santa Clauses between $8 and $12, but Santa Claus is
That's
making
what I
$8.
just said, Mr. Daguerre.
Well, you asked me.
That you pay him between $8 and $12 an hour. So he didn't get the $12 an hour out of nowhere.
Right.
Now, you did, in fact, have a conversation with him after he got his first week's pay And he called you and said, what happened to the $12?
No, he didn't say that.
He never called you after he got his...
He met with me personally and said...
Met with you personally. So he
where are the $10? He never mentioned 12, he mentioned 10. But he has a little problem with math, so I'm not surprised that he didn't know 10 and 12 are different numbers.
Mr. Dagrapont, he had a conversation with you and he said, what happened to the original, let's say, $10 an hour?
That's what he said, Your Honor.
And then you said, well, I told you that we paid between 8 and 12 and we're paying you 8?
No, I told him that the starting salary was at 8, but that I would throw in a $1 bonus if he stayed to the end as he agreed. Your Honor, I would have paid him whatever he asked if he would have stayed. In fact, this was a wonderful Santa Claus, and we did not want to lose him, and I didn't care what we had to pay him. He will hopefully remember me saying, Mr. Garbage, I was going to pay you the $10 an hour. Can't you please come to work like you agreed?
Why didn't you pay him the $10 an hour initially that you had initially discussed with him?
Because this is what we start all our Santa Clauses off.
Come on, listen, I wasn't born yesterday. Being a Santa Claus during Christmas season at this man's age, right, is not something that you sign on for with an annuity. So when you sign on for it to work for 6 weeks, you sign on for it with a certain salary. You don't say, well, if you're a good Santa Claus, in 4 years, we're going to give you more money.
I never said that.
May be delivering in the North Pole in 4 years. Mr. Dagrapont,
that was never said by me, Your Honor.
I want to tell you something, Mr. Dagrapont. I find your testimony a little bit slippery, to say the least.
Well,
I find it a little bit slippery, and I tell you that for, among other things, that you had absolutely no right, because if I believed what you said, you had absolutely no right to cut his pay unilaterally from the $8 that you said you were going to pay him to $5. You didn't have a written employment agreement with him. If you had, he would have known exactly what he was going to make, not between 8 and 12 or 8 and 10. So you decided that he had to be punished for leaving you? What'd you do with the check that they sent you, sir?
Well, I cashed it because I needed the money.
Let me see the check, exactly what it was, because you certainly are entitled to the difference.
Your Honor, if I may.
Last check.
Just a second. The last check you sent him was for $178.36.
Right.
That was net. The gross was $193.13.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I don't like to deal with change. You don't mind if I don't deal with change, Mr. Gorback?
No, it's okay. You cut dollars. If you want to cut a couple of pennies, it's okay.
Okay. Mr. Gorback?
Yes.
Today's Christmas for you.
Thank you.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $175, which is the difference in what I consider, sir, the amount that you owe this gentleman. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. Down in Louisiana, we don't go ho, ho, ho. You go ha, ha, ha.
He's a wonderful Santa Claus, and I'm hoping that he'll work for us in the future.
I love being Santa Claus.
And now the next case.
All parties on Restelli versus Waterstrat. Step forward, please.
21-year-old student Cara Restelli is suing former friend, 21-year-old student Megan Waterstrat, for the use of an international phone card. Megan says Cara left her stranded in Europe, and the phone card was used for emergencies.
Okay, the facts of this case, I don't believe, are in dispute. You two ladies were good friends and decided to travel to Europe together.
Yes, correct.
And sometime towards the beginning of the trip, you received word that the fiancé of a very good friend of yours had died suddenly.
Yes.
And you felt as if it was important for you to return home immediately to be with your friend.
Yes.
Okay. Where in Europe were you going?
We were traveling all around Europe, London, Italy, and we were supposed to go also to Spain and France.
How long was the trip?
It was supposed to be for 3 weeks.
How much into the trip had you received that information?
It was 9 days.
Okay. When you left the defendant with your phone card.
Correct.
That was really your father's phone card.
Right.
Yes.
Father phone card. Sit. And according to you, your father got a whopping bill.
Yeah.
The defendant's calls, and you want her to pay for those calls.
Correct.
Can I see the bill, please?
Yes. I have a list of all the phone calls she made as well as the actual phone bills. It spans over 2 months because it went from 1 month into the next.
Have you seen these?
Yes, I have. She sent them to me in the mail.
Any calls that you question?
No, I don't question any of them.
Okay. So what was the total amount of the bill that she is responsible for?
She made $849 worth of phone calls plus taxes and fees, which came out to $1,015.
Okay. There you go. Big talker.
Absolutely.
So why aren't you responsible for this bill?
Well, upon leaving, or Cara leaving Europe, she gave me the phone card for emergency calls. And in my opinion, all the phone calls I made were for emergencies. So I feel that I don't have to pay.
Well, let me understand this. She gave you the phone card because you didn't have one. Is that right?
That's correct.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with her when she gave you the phone card.
Well, I don't really remember specifically.
Then you don't remember specifically? Then you can't help me.
Oh, I can. Well, she said, here's a phone card, so when we leave, you know, you can use a phone card in case of emergencies. And so I did tell her that it would help pay for the phone bills, but she also agreed that she would not leave me alone in Europe, and she was willing to pay $500 for a ticket home. So when she sent me this bill, like, there was a disagreement between, like, she owes me $500, but yet
What she owe you $500 for?
Because she promised she would pay for a ticket home for $500. Like,
why should she pay for your ticket home?
Because she left me in Europe. Well, as it turned out, like, she left me. It was her decision to leave me. This trip had been planned out for quite some time, and it was a major expense. And I bought a restrictive ticket and could not change the date to fly home.
She had an emergency.
Well, of course, but
just a second. She had an emergency.
Well, of course she had an emergency, but in my opinion, it was an emergency that I thought she should go home for.
Were you having a good time for the 9 days that you were there?
With her?
Yes.
Yes.
You having fun?
Yes.
It wasn't as if you were having a miserable time and not getting along and you dumped her. No, you were having a good time.
Yes.
And you had, I assume, planned this trip for a long time and wanted to continue with the trip.
Yes.
But you felt as if you had a moral obligation to go home and be with your friend.
Correct.
Excuse me, Honor. I also thought she had a moral obligation to stay with me because we were halfway across the world.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Well, if you're 21 years old, madam, nobody has to babysit for you.
Of course not, but the whole reason why I went on this trip with a friend was to have, you know, to have a company, like, to have somebody there to talk to and share the experience with. So she left. That's not fulfilling her, like, obligation to me. I mean, I went on this trip.
Well, let me ask you this question. If you lost a member of your family, if you received word that a member of your family died while you were 9 days into the trip, do you think it would have been the right thing for you to do to go home?
With my friend, yes, and I would pay for her ticket home also.
Baloney. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,015. Grow up!
Yeah, this is case number 271 on the calendar in the matter of Rochelle versus Martin.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Rochelle, you were the caregiver for the defendant's grandmother.
Yes, ma'am.
Who passed away on the 31st?
24th of January.
24th of January. It is your claim that the defendant slandered you by claiming that you took some money that you shouldn't have, that was her grandmother's money. Yes. I think that was in Social Security checks, that because she said that you had taken those checks and you weren't authorized to at that time, the money was taken out of your account, causing other checks that you wrote to bounce. So what you're suing her for is $5,000 for the aggravation that you had and the bounce check fees, etc., and also for slandering you.
Yes.
Ms. Martin is going to explain to me what happened. She says that this whole thing is really about an insurance policy that you had on the life of her grandmother, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let me try to place this in perspective. Okay. Ms. Rochelle, when did you start to act as the caregiver for Miss Martin's grandmother?
In May of 1999.
What was wrong with her grandmother?
She couldn't walk very well due to rheumatoid arthritis, and she's a diabetic also, so she didn't get around very well.
Was your grandfather alive at the time?
In 99, yes, he was.
So were you caring for both of them?
I cared for him also, yes.
Were you living in or just?
Yes, I was living in.
Who hired you?
I wasn't really hired. I come here, they were my godparents. I moved here from Kansas City because I was here in December prior to May of 1999.
Oh, so you knew that they were your
godparents?
Yes, I knew them.
I
didn't realize that.
So when I got there in December and saw what condition they were living in, I mean, adult people shouldn't have to live like that. So when I went back home, I couldn't rest, so I came back out to try to get their home and get them in living condition, and I was going to go back home. I figured everybody else would take care of them. It didn't happen, so I was here till they both died.
So your grandfather died first?
Yes, he had Alzheimer's and other conditions.
So he had Alzheimer's?
Yes.
But not her grandmother?
No.
She just had physical problems?
Physical problems. She was very strong mentally.
Okay. And it was agreed that the Social Security checks would be direct deposited into your account?
Well, it was agreed that that's how she would pay me, yes.
So she was paying you?
Yeah, the last year, the first 2 years I worked for, took care of her, Mrs. Spider, with no pay.
How much was she paying you?
June of 2002, she started paying me $1,100 a month. But prior to that, she wasn't paying me anything.
Just a second. Now, was that $1,100 her Social Security check?
Yes.
Now, when did you leave the employ of, what was your grandmother's name?
Mrs. Alberta Spivey.
When did you leave Miss Spivey's employ?
I came home one Friday evening, and she explained to me that Monday, which would be the 28th, that she would be going to the hospital and from there to a nursing home.
Okay. Now, that you claim that she told somebody at the bank that you had stolen money or taken money. What money?
I have an affidavit with a check that Miss Martin accused me of stealing, which was a check that I received every month for Mrs. Spivey. For Mrs. Spivey.
What month?
November 1st.
Well, you weren't in her employ in November.
But she still expected me to take care of her. I was her sole provider.
No. She left on October 28th. November 1st, you got the check. It should have been returned. Is that the check we're talking about?
The arrangement we made was that when Mrs. Spivey came to me in April of 2002, she didn't pay me for April. So when she left, by her not giving me a 30-day notice, I was supposed to keep November's payment also. That's the arrangement we made.
That's hearsay, madam. If she left your home on October 28th,
okay,
and if Miss Martin complained that you had taken November's check and appropriated it for yourself, and it was a Social Security check, then she didn't slander you. Is that the check you're complaining about?
Well, Mrs. Martin had no arrangement with Mrs. Spivey's no arrangement, you know. I mean, there's no written document saying I get this every month, I do that, you know. I cast a check, she'll give me what she wanted.
Well, if there's no written document, then you can't take her Social Security. Her Social Security goes to her. So if that's what you're complaining about, Miss Rochelle, your complaint is falling on deaf ears. She says that this is all about an insurance policy, and I'm sort of curious about that insurance policy. When did Miss Spivey take out an insurance policy naming you as beneficiary?
She had the insurance policy in 2001, but when she came to live with me, she complained the whole time. We talked previously on the phone.
Just answer my questions. You can't tell me what she said to you. She's not here.
August, I believe, of 2002.
August of 2002, she changed the insurance policy, making you the beneficiary.
Yes.
Who had previously been the beneficiary?
Her daughter in Topeka, Kansas.
And where did she go when she changed the insurance policy? Did she go to somebody's office, or did somebody come to her?
The insurance agent, which is present here in the court, he came to our home and took out the policy.
Who was the insurance agent?
Mr. Harvey.
Step up, please. Your last name is Harvey?
Yes. May I interject for a moment, sir?
Yes.
The insurance policy prior to August 20th had lapsed. So a new application was issued August 20th, 2002, and this is the application to which plaintiff is referring.
So in August, when you came to the house, sir, she did not have insurance.
Correct.
Had you been Ms. Spivey's insurance agent previously on the old policy?
No.
And when you came to the house, you wrote up another insurance policy and named a different beneficiary. Is that correct?
Well,
is that correct, that you wrote up another policy with a new beneficiary?
Correct.
Just answer my question.
Well, I didn't know who the first beneficiary was.
Who determined, Ms. Martin, that the signature on this new policy was not your grandmother's signature?
The policy issued in August 20, 2002 is her signature. The policy was amended in November. That is the signature my mother and I have disputed with Guarantee Life Insurance. That is not her signature.
What do you mean the policy was amended in November?
Okay.
Was the policy amended in November?
It was increased.
From what to what?
10 to 15,000.
November what?
About mid-month.
I have the exact
date, Your Honor. Who called you to increase the policy?
Miss Rochelle.
Miss Rochelle, who is no longer taking care of Miss Spivey. Is that right?
I was taking care of Miss Spivey. I was running back and forth to the nursing home taking care of her. Yes, I was.
On November 8th, she was not in the nursing home. She was at Brotman Medical Center.
Well, I was out there also. Records can show that too.
But also, Your Honor, this policy is a joint whole life policy with my uncle and my grandmother. My uncle was incarcerated through at least January 19, 2003. His signature also appears on both applications. I don't see how that's possible.
I don't know either, but are you still in litigation with regard to that second policy?
We were told by Guarantee that the policy would not be paid.
And it has not been paid, is that right?
Yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
He just all of a sudden started shaking the car, pushing it back and forth. Then he just swan dives on top of my roof. And I said, I'm going to call the cops. He says, you want me off your car? Come down here and make me get off your car.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Caregiver Dorothy Rochelle claims her deceased client's granddaughter, Joyce Martin, falsely accused her of stealing. Joyce says Dorothy took out a life insurance policy on her grandmother.
All right, not so hard. Miss Rochelle, you had no right to keep in your account Miss Spivey's Social Security check for the month of November of 2002. You were no longer taking care of her. The $1,100 was to provide for her care. She was either in a hospital or she was in a nursing home during the month of November. Both of those facilities were entitled to a piece of her Social Security check, not you. Ms. Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
She has a very simplistic lawsuit here. Her lawsuit says that you accused her of stealing money, of using money that she wasn't entitled to.
Correct.
And I've just told her that she wasn't entitled to that money that she had in her bank account. Okay. And that if, because of your complaint, that money was withdrawn from her bank account and she suffered damages because other checks bounced, that's too bad.
That's correct.
Too bad. She had no right to keep that money. It was a Social Security check. I've answered you. You had no right to keep the money. You may disagree with me. That's your problem. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye. Good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I took care of this woman's grandmother.
All parties in the matter of Engelhardt versus Sykowski. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Kimberly Engelhardt is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Denise Sykowski, for the cost of 2 tickets to a reggae festival.
Miss Engelhardt,
Yes.
according to the complaint that I read, a group of people were going to a concert, and the defendant was a friend of yours.
Correct.
You asked her if she wanted to join group at the concert. You say that Miss Sykowski said that she definitely wanted to go, along with her boyfriend. You put the pair of tickets on your credit card. Turns out that only Miss Sykowski went. You wanted to pay for both of the tickets. The remainder on her ticket. She didn't give you the full amount.
Yes.
Miss Sykowski says she only said she was ready to go to the concert, and her boyfriend hadn't committed to go to the concert, and if you didn't think long and hard enough about contacting him, then that's your problem, not hers. He didn't go. So, Miss Sykowski, is this the boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
I'm Chris Holton.
How old are you, Chris?
I'm 20.
And you?
21.
How long have you been a couple?
For almost 2 years.
Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You live together in an apartment that you share?
We lived together in an apartment for a year, and then we live in a house now.
That you
together.
lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the concert?
The first weekend in August.
What kind of concert was it?
It was a reggae festival.
A reggae festival?
Yes, it was 3 day long.
Where do you stay?
You camp along the river, and wherever there's a place, you set up your tent.
Sounds delicious. Okay. Now, Miss Sykowski, when your friend Miss Engelhardt discussed it with you, tell me what you said to her.
Well, first of all, it was all 4 of us at my apartment, and
4 of you, including this gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
That's your boyfriend?
Yes.
And she asked us, she had already paid for all 4 of the tickets. And I said that that sounded lovely, and I wanted to go definitely. And Chris said that it sounded good, but he could not commit to it because he didn't know his financial state right then, and if he had other plans going on.
Is that what he said?
I'm not exactly sure what he said, but I remember that she agreed to wanting to go.
She said she wanted to go. Did she say she or they?
She said she wanted to go, but later on, before the concert started, she told me that they were both going to go.
When you say before the concert started, when did she tell you that they were both going to go?
Maybe it was in July.
In between this first conversation, which was in what conversation at your house?
I believe it was in May.
Between May and July, had you tried to sell either one or both of these tickets?
No, I didn't, because I assumed that she would like to purchase the ticket, if not both of them.
Okay, but it wasn't until July that she told you they were both going to go?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to know. Mr. Holton.
Yes.
Tell me about your plans to go to this concert, sir.
Well, I never really had any official...
Look at me.
Never really had any official plans. She brought it up, like she said, in May. It sounded kind of interesting to me, but like this was months ahead of time. I never actually told her I would be going to the concert, and didn't even know if she actually had the tickets. We never said, hey, buy us the tickets and we'll pay you back.
Mr. Holton, 2 couples are going on a camping trip. Camping trip where they're going to share a tent and be away with each other for 3 days. And you want me to believe that you just weren't sure that you wanted to go with your live-in, with your significant other, to this concert? Just because.
Well, I mean, honestly...
Don't put your hand up. I'd like him to finish.
I don't know, honestly, I never really wanted to go to a reggae festival. I'm not really into reggae music.
Did you tell that to your live-in?
Yeah, I don't think I really explained it to her that I wasn't going to go, but
Well, I want you to explain to me what you explained to her, sir. If you didn't explain to her that you weren't going to go, how did you think somebody was going to read your mind that you weren't going to go?
Well, she wasn't trying to sell me a ticket. The plaintiff here is trying to sell a ticket to somebody that didn't want a ticket.
Now I'll hear you.
From the very beginning, Chris never said that he was going to take this ticket. He said it sounded like a good idea, but he said that he would never commit to the ticket. Kim and I had talked about this several times about him wanting the ticket, and I told her several times that Chris was not going to take the ticket, and I told Kim, if she wants to talk to him about it, then go for it. Call him because she has the phone number. I ended up going to this place by myself.
I disagree with
30,000 people there.
Just a second. You didn't go there by yourself. According to the complaint that I read and your answer, you picked up his ticket and you went with his ticket and yours. So you took 2 tickets.
Because it's $165, I would not want to leave under somebody's doorstep to be taken.
Why?
Because that was
What did
my
you,
friend.
What did you do with it?
My intentions were to give it back to her because...
Listen to me. You took both tickets. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Both tickets.
To give her one back.
I don't care what your intention was. You took both tickets.
It's $165 underneath somebody's doorstep.
That's not the problem. The problem is you took both tickets.
It would be my fault if it was lost in the first place.
Well, what did you do with it?
I took it with me and I never found Kim. I tried calling her several times. I was there by myself. I ended up having to sleep on the side of a road because I could not find her to go camping with her, and I couldn't find her the second day. They wanted $80 for parking. I spent over $160 getting up to this festival and then trying to find my friend. She never even called me to notify me where she was at or where her camping grounds were because we were supposed to camp together, and she never called me or anything.
Who's the we?
Myself, Kim, and her boyfriend.
Just the 3 of you?
Yes.
Did you know that it was just going to be the 3 of you camping together?
The day before that we left, I found out Chris wasn't going to go.
Just say, was that the first time you found out he wasn't going to go?
It might have been a day before, but it was within 24 hours of the concert.
Tell me who told you he wasn't going.
Denise told me that he wasn't going.
And what did you say to her?
I said, well, what are we going to do with that ticket? Because, you know, it was intended for him. I hadn't tried to give it to anybody else because I was under the assumption that
he was going until he had to do paperwork on the new house. Don't talk over me.
Sorry.
So what did she say?
She told me that she was going to try to go up the next day because she had a lot of stuff going on. And I said, okay, that's fine. We would try to meet up at the concert. But what I didn't know was that people at this concert and that I wouldn't be able to find her.
Okay, how much did you lay out for those 2 tickets?
It was a total of $330 for both tickets.
And how much money did she give you?
She gave me $65.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, that's not true. I paid her the full amount for that ticket.
No, that is not
Show
true.
me.
I paid her with cash.
She paid me $65 and said, I'll give you the rest later because she was paying me installments.
I paid her 2 installments.
1 installment.
I believe you, Miss Engelhardt. I believe you. I believe she gave you $65. You owe her $265. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Because it's obvious you can't really trust friends anymore.
It's quite stupid, actually, but she was the one that decided to end our friendship.
And allegedly damaged it. And you want the defendants to pay for the cost of repairing your car.
Correct.
Me, I'd want the kid to pay, but he's only 16, so if I rule against the parents, it's the parents' responsibility to torture him by hopefully making him get a job and do something. You can stand up next to your parents, please. The defendant says that he did throw a chair at your car, right?
Yes, I did.
But that you deserved it, right?
Yes.
Miss Cole, do you know these people?
Not very well. They live up the street from me.
How long have you lived there?
About a year.
How long have you lived in your house?
A year.
And who do you live with, Miss Cole?
I live with my boyfriend, Derek Nesbitt.
When did this incident occur?
It was August 21st of 2006 at 9:30 p.m.
Tell me what happened.
I had just dropped my boyfriend off at work, and I was on my way home, and I turned onto our street. They live on like the second house on the street, and the chair came and hit my window and kind of rolled down my car, and I swerved over, pulled over, and got out. And I was angry and scared at the same time. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. And I asked him if he had anything else to throw, and they were just screaming at me to slow down. And I got back in my truck, and I told them I was going to let my boyfriend handle it because I'm not a confrontational kind of person.
Good. So, very smart.
So I got back in my car, I went home and called the police. The officer came to my home and asked me to drive around to their house. I had her friend with me at the time, and we went around there, and me and I believe it's his father and the officer were just looking at my vehicle when I'm not sure how many people were there, more than 5 or 6 people were in the street with my sister and her friend arguing and cursing, and I got so overwhelmed with them yelling, calling me a criminal. I could have hit their children or their pets or...
You think you were going too fast?
I do not. I had just turned a corner. So I don't believe I was speeding, no.
Okay. Do you work, Ms. Cole?
I do. Right now I'm on maternity leave, though.
All right, young man, why don't you tell me about what happened on August 21st?
Well, we were sitting outside, and we were...
Who was sitting outside?
Me and everybody seen here, and I had some friends over because we were going to go ride.
Riding where?
Ride my bike, just ride around town. And she comes hauling around the corner. She doesn't even lose any speed around the corner. And before, when she went down the street first, she was going pretty fast, and we all yelled at her to slow down. And then on her way back, you know, about 20, 30 minutes later, she comes hauling around the corner, loses no speed at all, and I'm sitting in a chair, and my reaction is just to throw it.
Well, you can't do that.
No.
You can't do that. That's outrageous. It's very simple. I wish they were all so simple. If you think she's speeding, she's not doing the right thing, call the police. And if you think she's acting in an irresponsible manner, send her a letter that she's endangering people in the street. But you don't pick up an object and throw it at her. What if you had a gun in your hand? Would you have shot her?
No.
Well, what if you threw a chair at her and she lost control of her car and went into a tree and got hurt?
But what if it was my friends on the bike, or me on the bike, or my little cousin?
They weren't! You were sitting on your porch, in your chair. But what if you threw a chair at her car and she lost control of her car and swerved off and went into somebody's porch where they were sitting on their porch? You know whose fault that would be?
Mine.
Right. We don't have vigilantes here. You ever been in trouble with the law before? Look at me. Have you ever been in trouble with the law before?
No, not a big trouble.
Not a big trouble?
No.
What kind of little trouble?
Just like curfew.
What does that mean, like curfew?
Just being out like 10 minutes past curfew.
Right. You think I believe that? Can I see pictures of the truck?
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a couple of things to ask. First of all, we were sitting in the driveway, not on a porch.
I don't care if you're sitting on the driveway, the porch, or in your
We've
attic.
already asked her plenty of times as she was driving down our street to slow down.
How have you asked her, Mr. Moser?
Well, yelling at her while she's...
That's not asking her.
It is asking her.
No, Mr. Moser.
Okay, we're telling her.
No, Mr. Moser. What you do is you write her a letter.
We didn't know where she lived.
Then you call the police.
We
and you
did.
Give them, when?
We called the police the very first time. They said that the only thing you can get is a license plate number.
So why didn't you do that?
We didn't. She's going too fast.
Oh, Mr. Moser, that's a lot of baloney.
Well, okay.
That's a lot of baloney, sir. Because, listen to me, if you saw this lady time and time again coming past your house, and she lives a block away from where you live, then you go and look for her car in the year that she's been living there. So don't give me a lot of baloney.
She lives behind another house.
When was the last time, sir, that you followed the car to try to get a license plate to give the police?
I'm
Which
not
is
a
what
cop.
they said.
That's not my job.
No, but it's his son's job to throw a chair at the car.
It's her job to be responsible for the vehicle.
It's not your job to police her, Mr. Moser. That's not your job. Right. Your job is to police your own children.
And I was doing that.
You weren't policing your children.
Well, someone needs to police her.
That's the job of the police, not your 16-year-old son. Oh, you're an idiot. No wonder he threw a chair at her.
So he's an idiot too, then?
Well, he is, certainly. The apple don't fall far from the tree, Mr. Moser.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If he threw a chair at her, was killed, you would be visiting him in state's prison. And if you don't get that, I can't do anything about it. You're too old and too thick.
And later today...
Who are the witnesses?
They're neighbors across the street from them.
You live across the street from them?
Yes.
Carrie Cole claims neighbor Justin Snoke threw a chair at her car while she was driving down the street. Justin says Carrie was driving like a maniac.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. If she's doing the wrong thing, it's not the right of a citizen to do any more than report the action to the police. It is not the right of a citizen to pick up a chair and throw it at her car.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I
Let me give you another example, sir. Let us say you're standing over an overpass with a large boulder, and you see someone going 85 miles an hour in a 55-mile zone. You think that you have the right to drop that boulder on their car?
No.
Why not? That's your theory. Your theory is you're endangering people, and therefore I have the right to protect my family. You think your son would have the right to do that?
Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. We were playing ball out in the street. And
No, you were not. That's a lie. That is a bald-faced lie.
No, because listen, the very first time this lady came down our street, we were playing ball in the middle of the street. She did not slow down for us at all. We grabbed the kids.
That's not true, Yana.
Just a second. Of course it's not true.
Okay.
He's making it up as he's going along. Making it up as he's going along. But on the way home, he's sitting with his behind in a chair. Wasn't dangerous.
The incident playing the ball was done at the same time.
Several times for 3 months to slow down.
Call The police.
We did.
You
on the
don't
night of the
throw
incident.
a chair.
The night of the incident, before the chair was thrown.
Just a second. Would you do me a favor? Go and tell him I've had enough of him, please. I told him. I had enough. Mr. Moser, listen to me. You're wrong. And if you don't get it, I feel sorry for you. And if your son's broken curfew before, and I just have a sense, right here, based on my experience, that a 10-minute curfew violation isn't the only difficulty you've had with him, sir.
He's never been a problem.
Well, I guarantee you. Father like you, he's gonna be.
Well.
Can I have an estimate of the damage, please?
I also have a police report if you would like to see it.
No, I don't have to see it.
Would you like to see the letter from the police officer that responded to the incident?
No, I would not.
Even it states everything that she stated at the time of the accident.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. I don't have to hear any hearsay or look at any hearsay. It's as simple a case as I would want to try 30 times a day. If she was speeding, that's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is your son's act in picking up a chair and throwing it at her moving car. That he cannot do. And if you don't get it, I can't help you, sir. You've reached this age in your life when you are beyond redemption and beyond help. Say nothing else. The case, as far as you're concerned, is over. She may have done the wrong thing. I am not here to judge that. That is up to the police.
We did that night.
Here's right here.
Put it down. You don't get it.
You just got to making a statement that the police are doing their job. Well, then read what the police did for his job.
I don't know how I can make it any. If your son threw a chair at her car and she lost control of the car and she were killed, he would have been charged with manslaughter. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Do you understand that? Whether she was speeding, whether she was coking up in the car, whether she was drinking, if he threw a chair at her car and her car went out of control and she was killed, you would be visiting him in state's prison. And if you don't get that, I can't do anything about it. You're too old and too thick. How much did it cost you to fix the car?
$932.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The damage that they're asking for is not all the damage. Her window was up. How do you damage a seatbelt when the window's up?
I was 6 months pregnant at the time. It could have been much worse, and thank goodness it wasn't.
I was in the wrong. You're right, but I mean...
Ted Kelly is suing his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, for crashing his car while driving intoxicated. Nicholas says the accident wasn't his fault.
Mr. Kelly, this is your...
granddaughter.
And you own a car?
Yes.
You let your granddaughter use the car?
Yes.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am.
You're a very, very good grandpa.
Yeah, I try to be.
How many grandchildren do you have?
4.
Is this the oldest?
Yes.
You don't play favorites, do you?
Try not to.
Try not. I know. Well, Mr. Rundy over here wrecked your car. And he says, it's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you wreck Mr. Kelly's car?
April 4th, I do believe.
At what time of the day or evening did you wreck his car?
Around 10 o'clock at night.
Where had you been earlier that evening?
Over at Alicia's house.
How many people were at Alicia's house?
Her, myself, Philip, and 2 of my friends.
So 1 girl.
1 girl.
And 4 boys.
4 boys.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ted Kelly claims his granddaughter's friend, 18-year-old Nicholas Rundy, wrecked his car during a night of drinking. Nicholas says Ted's granddaughter is also to blame.
Now, how old is Alicia?
18.
And who does she live with?
By herself.
By herself?
Mm-hmm.
What time did you get there?
8 o'clock probably. She called Philip's cell phone to have us come over just to hang out.
Don't offer me any information that I didn't ask for, Mr. Rundy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll get all the information I need. At what time did you take Mr. Kelly's car?
9:30 or so.
How much had you been drinking?
A couple glasses of mixed drink.
Of what?
Rum, I do believe.
Who mixed them?
We did.
Who's we?
Me and Philip and everybody. They were pouring our own drinks.
Who mixed your drink?
Me.
And who mixed your second drink?
Myself.
And if you had a third drink, who would have mixed your third drink?
Myself.
Where did you get the mixers from?
We didn't have any mixers. We were just pouring them from the bottle.
Well, then that's not a mixed drink. Unless you were mixing scotch and rye, and you weren't mixing alcohol, were you?
No.
Because that would have been really dumb.
Right.
So were you having straight drinks or mixed drinks?
Straight drinks.
So you had a few straight drinks, and you took the car about 9 o'clock at night. Who was in the car with you when you took it?
Philip.
And at what point did the car get wrecked?
Around 9:45, I do believe.
Did you receive any sort of citation that day from the police department?
No, ma'am.
Did the police arrive at the scene?
Yes.
Did they give you a breathalyzer test?
No.
Did they take you to a hospital?
No, they just questioned me about the car and arrested me for public intoxication.
So you didn't get a citation, you got arrested.
Yeah.
So if you got arrested for public intoxication, you must have been really drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
My father now.
Did your mother throw you out?
No, I had to move.
Why?
Wasn't doing the right thing in Indiana.
Is that where your mother lives?
Yes, ma'am.
So your mother had enough of you move to?
Cocoa Beach, Florida.
Who does your father live with?
Himself and me and my brother.
And what are you doing in Florida now?
About to go to school and just looking
So
for a
right
job
now you're doing nothing?
Yeah.
About to go to school, about to get a job, right now you're doing nothing?
Yeah, I just moved down there.
Now, Mr. Rundy, you are going to explain to me, sir, why this accident was not your fault. Or please pay careful attention, because in case I miss something, I really want somebody to give me a poke, to be able to say, you missed it, you know, you missed the important part.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
All right.
We're both all ears, Mr. Rundy.
I'm not trying to say that it's not my fault.
Well, that's what you said in the answer. You said, let me tell you what you said in the answer, Mr. Rundy,
Okay.
which caused me to do this torturing routine that I did for the last 5 minutes.
Right.
Alicia, the other 18-year-old idiot who was drinking that night with 4 guys, she's the reason why I had to go to jail. That's what you wrote here.
I didn't.
And had to take classes for first-time offenders. Did you have to take classes for
Yes,
first-time
I did.
offenders? I was surprised to learn that Mr. Kelly is suing me. Alicia should pay her grandfather for the money he is asking. Mr. Kelly is suing the wrong person. That's what you wrote. So now what you're telling me is that was all a big mistake?
No, it's not a big mistake. I feel she should have some responsibility in her car. I know what I did was wrong, and I know that. But
She wasn't in the car.
She gave me the keys to her car, though.
Yeah.
So where's the responsibility come in at?
How much do you weigh?
180.
You think that she could carry you, put you in the car, take your hand, put the key in the ignition,
I have
and
no
turn
idea.
it on? You don't think she could do that, do you?
No.
Only you could do that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who poured your own alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one who put the glass to your lips and guzzled it down.
Yes, ma'am.
You're the one that took your behind and put it behind the wheel of a car where you could have killed somebody.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the one who's going to pay for Mr. Mr. Kelly, were you able to have the car fixed?
Yes, I was.
And how much did it cost you, Mr. Kelly?
Over $5,000.
Do you have the bill for it?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Kelly, your granddaughter Alicia, I must tell you, I believe, did not act responsibly that evening. That doesn't mean that he's off the hook. That just means that if I were you, I wouldn't give her back the car.
I'm sorry.
Did you give her back the car?
Yes, after I got it fixed.
That was a big mistake. I wouldn't have given her back the car. She behaved irresponsibly. You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
Taking advantage of your grandfather. I wouldn't let you take advantage of me. I'll tell you that right now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Mr. Rundy, you better get busy and get back to Florida. Hurry up, hustle, get a job. Hustle, hustle, bustle.
All right.
That's all.
Funds are excused. You may step out.
Ralph Teeter says the mother of his children, April Pyatt, owes for bail money after she was arrested for passing bad checks.
Mr. Teeters, how many children do you and the defendant have together?
3.
3. How old are they?
8, 5, 2.5.
You've never married?
No.
For my own information, any particular reason why?
I've tried. Her rings keep getting pawned.
Did she pawn one after your 8-year-old was born?
Yeah.
And after your 5-year-old was born?
Yeah.
You don't learn.
No. I was trying for a family.
She wasn't
You
interested.
can't make something stay together.
Well, you got a family, 8, 5, and 2. The children live with you?
Yeah, but we don't have 3 children together. We have 2. And I have one from a different relationship.
How old is that child?
2.
The last one is not yours, is that right?
No, I raised her for a year and a half before I found out. So in my eyes, she's mine.
Okay. Your complaint is that you bailed Miss Pyatt out of jail, $1,000. You want your bail money back.
Correct.
Miss Pyatt has a defense. I don't understand it, but I'm sure she'll explain it to me. When did you bail her out of jail?
Bailed her out on Valentine's Day.
What was she in jail for?
Bad checks. She had a heyday, just writing checks.
On whose account?
Hers.
So she wrote checks on an account where there was no funds, according to you. There were no funds to cover the checks.
Yes, ma'am.
When did she write those checks?
The late end of 2004 to beginning of 2005.
Did you know about the bad checks?
I didn't know about them at the moment, but after I found out, I took out a set of loans, paid off the first set.
He was
didn't
with me
stop
on
her.
some-
Just a second.
It didn't stop her. She kept going. So, I mean, I
You
can't
were
keep
living
paying.
together at the time.
Yes.
How much of a loan did you take out to pay out the first set of checks?
I believe it was $1,100.
Tell me about her arrest on the bad checks.
On the 12th or 13th, she got up in a bad mood, decided to stomp through my coffee table. So I told her she needed to go or I was calling the cops. Called the cops, they picked her up. My daughter found out about it. She didn't want her mommy in jail, so I went to her mother, and her mom offered $500, and I put up the other $1,000. I bailed her.
You went to her mother and got $500.
Right.
And then you put up the other $1,000.
Right.
Because your daughter didn't want her mommy in jail.
Right.
Go ahead.
I shouldn't have to pay for her getting in trouble. I helped her out because my daughter wanted her out. You know, I shouldn't be stabbed in the back for being nice.
So? What is the theory of your court case?
I want my money back. I mean...
Well, I know, but what's the theory of your case?
I'm tired of paying for a relationship that ain't there.
Mr. Teeters, is that matter still pending? The bad checks, has that matter been resolved?
No, I paid it in full, and not with the money, the bond money.
Just a second. Are you on probation?
No.
What happened?
I paid a fine of $25 a piece, and I paid the amount of the checks that I wrote. And they were wrote in a 3-day period. They weren't wrote.
They were, first of all, written?
Yes, they were written.
Did you plead guilty and accept a fine and restitution, or was the matter still pending? Do you have to go to court? Do you have a lawyer? I want to know what...
No, I pled guilty. And
so you pled guilty?
Yes.
And you were given a fine?
Yes.
And restitution?
Yes.
Who are you living with now?
My husband.
When did you get married?
April 18th.
Is he the father of any of your children?
No, he's not.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Do you see your children?
Only at her convenience. See, the guy that she's married to is the one she come to me for help from. She come to me saying she'd been beaten, she needed help, wanted away. I tried to help her out.
You mean when she was,
right
at the time you called the police,
yeah.
she had come back to your house?
Yeah, and the only reason she was even there in the first place is because she'd been beaten by this guy.
Is that true?
I think if you were beaten, you'd have bruises and marks.
I don't ask.
Yeah.
Don't.
No, it was not true.
Why did you go back to Mr. Teeter's house?
Because I was angry with Ed, and I needed...
What were you angry with Ed about?
He was keeping track of my income tax money and being controlling.
How long had you and Mr. Teeters been separated when you went back?
For 10 months.
So is what you're telling me, Ms. Pyatt, that you went back to him and said, Ed is being controlling and I don't want to live with him anymore? Can you help me? Or did you say that he was being abusive?
I said I was mad at him and angry with him, and that I wanted to rent my own home for my children and me, and if he could help me out.
A church rented her an apartment or a motel room for a battered woman's thing, and that's where they only did it for one day, and I took over. And as far as her renting the place, I've got receipts here from where I pawned all of my rifles.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. I'm going to give you some advice. I understand that you're tired of paying for her, but she did not borrow this money from you, and you did not loan her this bail money. According to you, you called the police because she was acting out in your home. The only reason you went to bail her out of jail, according to you, is because your daughter was crying and said, I don't want my mommy in jail.
And she had agreed that me and her mother both get the money back.
No, well, I didn't hear that, sir.
I could have sworn I told you earlier that on the phone, whenever I talked to her, she had agreed that her mother get back the $5 and I get back the $1,000.
When did she tell you that?
That was the night before I bailed her out.
She called you, I assume?
Called her mother's.
And you were at her mother's?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
I was asking for help for her. Where April called, they'd been contacting me, trying to get up on money.
And what did you say?
I said I'd do what I could.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
He was at my brother's house when I contacted him, and I called and asked him that I had some money in my purse, which was $820, and that the rest of the money I needed help to come up with, if he could contact one of my aunts or someone to help me come up with the rest of the money. But he ended up that night in the same jail I was in for possession of felony drug charges. So we were in jail together.
Not my drugs.
And I have proof of that.
Just a second, were you in jail that evening?
Yes.
For what?
I got picked up for wearing the jacket she was wearing whenever she got arrested.
Go ahead.
He was in the same jail until the next day when he was released. He came and brought my money that was in my purse, the money of my mom had gave him.
Well, how much was your bail?
$1,500.
And your mother gave him $500?
Yeah.
Leaving $1,000 left?
Yeah, $180, I don't know where it came from. He put that up somehow, and then $820 was in my purse when I went to jail.
Where did you get $820?
I worked, and my income tax check had just came in.
Where were you working?
A grocery store.
And you kept your money? You didn't put your money in a bank? You kept
I couldn't.
It all in your
I wrote
purse?
bad checks.
She'd have to be saving for months at $5.15 an hour.
No, I had income tax returns of $1,700.
Show me.
Okay. And I also have where he went to jail, and an ex-parte order and a copy of what I spent my income tax on that he was keeping. I witness. That's part of the reason why I left.
You have the stub from this check that you got?
No, I don't believe so.
How much did you receive?
$1,700 and something.
What'd you do with it?
I cashed it.
Where?
At my husband's bank, U.S. Bank. At the time, he was just my boyfriend.
So your husband had a bank, and you cashed this.
Mm-hmm.
When did you cash it?
It was at the beginning of February, I do believe.
So You still had this money 2.5?
A month and a little over a month.
No, 2.5 months later.
Yeah, I had part of it. I didn't have all of it. I only had about
I don't believe you.
820. I was saving it so I didn't go to jail.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that you had $820 in cash in your pocketbook. Don't buy it.
Yeah, I had it.
I don't believe you. I also don't believe that there was a loan.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
You got to prove that to me, sir. Now, I believe that you called the police on her, and they came, they arrested her. Your daughter said to you, I don't want mommy in jail. You felt badly according to you, so you went to her mother to see how you could both put together enough money to get her out of jail. That's what you told me.
Okay, and I work hard for my money. I've got custody of my 8-year-old daughter.
No, we don't. We don't either one have custody. We haven't gone to court.
I've got where DFS gave me primary custody over her until it goes through a judge.
That's not a legal document, is what they told me, and they told me that
If it wasn't a legal document,
that's just
you'd
so
be
she
allowed
don't
to-
have to change schools. It's so close to the end of school year.
Okay.
I have papers from my lawyer.
Why do you have to agree to withdraw from any and all drug activity?
Oh, that's the allegations by her. I've taken multiple UAs from
I have
DFS.
proof of that where he's been arrested.
I've taken multiple UAs from DFS that they drop on me on a random. To where if I would have failed one of those, my daughter would be in her custody and
He
would
can
not
take
be in
stuff
mine
to
now.
make sure the test pass.
Along with, I went ahead and I agreed to her restraining order, even though on here it's got the dates and everything that I pulled these rifles on her. But that's where I also got conned into, please help me get a place, my boyfriend's abusive, and pawned my rifles.
Oh, God, what a dysfunctional group. I feel sorry for all of your children.
Yeah.
Your daughter is living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's kept her
And
away
you-
from me for 2 months. I haven't even got to see
Listen
her.
to me, madam. You think that I believe that you moved back in with him even for a couple of days because you told him that your boyfriend was being controlling about your income tax return money?
I just asked him
It
to stay
didn't
there.
happen that way, Miss Pyatt. It didn't happen that way. You went back to him and said he's beating me up and he's assaultive. I need a place to stay, and he helped you out. I mean, the fact that he's stupid, he doesn't get any rewards from that. He also did not make a loan for this.
I wouldn't say he was beating me up. That's your...
Ms. Pyatt, certain things make sense and certain things don't make sense. It doesn't make sense for somebody to take you back into their house with 3 children, only 2 of whom are his, biologically. If you said to him, I'm not getting along with my boyfriend.
He was stalking me the whole time. He kept begging me to come back.
He was stalking you?
Yeah, he hid out in the bushes.
He was stalking you the whole time, so you went back to him? Is that what you're telling
Yeah,
me, Ms. Pyatt?
it's stupid
Oh, you're an
mouth,
idiot.
yeah.
Anyway, you're an idiot, but you're an idiot who doesn't owe him any money. Mr. Teeters, I suggest that you put it down. I suggest, Mr. Teeters, that if you believe that you are a more appropriate caretaker of your children than the defendant, that you follow through with any custody proceedings that are currently pending. I think that both of you, I don't know how old you are, sir, but certainly she has to grow up. You work?
Yes, I do.
What do you do?
Roofing.
Good. You keep your hands to yourself. That's all.
Jennifer Day is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Spencer Fenimore, for breaking a lease. Spencer claims there was no lease to break.
Miss Day, you and Mr. Fenimore lived together for a period of time, signed a lease on an apartment, lived together during the course of that lease. The lease was renewed, according to you, for another 6 months, and Mr. Fenimore moved out after a month or so. You want him to be responsible for his half of the remainder of the lease. Mr. Fenimore, while he acknowledges that you signed an initial lease together, his defense is that he did not sign the renewal that you must have signed for him. You knew that he was intending to leave, that things weren't going well between the two of you, and he is not responsible for the second part of the lease. So can I see the first lease that you signed? When did you move in together?
It was, I believe, December 2004.
Well, the lease was signed November 2005.
I think it was 2004. I'm not real correct on that.
Well, what am I looking at? November
That's
29,
probably our
2005. What?
That's probably our renewal lease.
I didn't ask for the renewal. I asked for the original lease.
This isn't the actual lease, but it's part of the first lease that has the 12/8/04 date that Spencer
Can I
was
see it,
speaking of.
please? Okay, so the original was signed on 12/8/04, and you claim the renewal was signed by him on November 29th, 2005.
That's correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sign the renewal?
Yes.
You said in your answer you didn't sign the renewal.
I signed the renewal that went from November 2005 until May 2006. She's suing me from May 2006 to
Oh.
November 2006.
Got it. So who has that renewal?
The one that I handed to you shows that we went in the office and verbally renewed, and I have a letter from the office dated June 1st.
You can't verbally renew. Cannot verbally renew a 6-month lease. That's ridiculous. He says he did not renew the lease. You have no proof that he did renew the lease.
If he didn't want to renew the lease, Your Honor, he shouldn't have stayed there till July.
Because then you can have a month-to-month tenancy.
Okay.
You can have a month-to-month tenancy and pay every month until the landlord says, listen, I don't want to give you a month-to-month tenancy anymore. You have to leave within 30 days. Then you leave.
Right.
But you can't obligate him. Sorry, case is dismissed.
Desiree Loire claims ex-boyfriend Anthony Tatum owes for unpaid rent from their shared apartment. Desiree also says Anthony slashed her comforter and put a hole in the wall.
I have a feeling it's advice time. Miss Loire, this used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you also shared an apartment with him.
Yes.
You claim he owes you a whole bunch of money, dating back to 2005. You do know we're in 2007 now.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Tatum says he owes you nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice looking couple. How old are you?
21.
And you?
22.
And you moved in together when you were 19 and you were 20.
Correct.
Old enough to sign a contract?
Yes.
Definitely.
So you signed a lease together?
Multiple.
Multiple leases together?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not talking about all the leases you signed together. I'm talking about the last one after you moved out, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. And it is the plaintiff's claim that you moved out, you owed her rent, you damaged some of her property, and you loaned him money in 2005 for some car insurance. That you don't remember. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a Japanese restaurant as a bartender.
And you?
I'm a student.
How do you support yourself?
Currently, my parents do, ma'am.
Have you ever supported yourself?
For the past 3 years, yes.
So you just went back to school?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing for the last 3 years?
I was selling cars.
Did you make a living at it?
Very much so.
Why did you decide to go back to school?
I made a life-changing mistake of driving under the influence and lost my license.
That's a reason.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you injure anybody?
No, ma'am.
How long is your license suspended for?
It's no longer suspended. I just can't be picked up by the insurance of a dealership. Therefore, I'm back in school.
Gotcha. Okay. That was life-changing.
Very much. I learned a life lesson.
So I'm going to give you both another one. Don't ever move in with somebody and sign a lease together. Single people who want to try living together should always get an apartment that each of them can afford separately. Isn't that a smart idea?
Absolutely.
So that if it doesn't work out, somebody says, this is my apartment, that was our agreement, you leave, I can pay the rent all by myself. Of course, I understand that by saying this, I will probably lose 40% of the cases that I try each year, but I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the purpose of the common good. Right?
You will not lose a single case.
You know, he says that because nobody's going to listen to me. But if they did listen, there's a certain wisdom in what I say.
Yes, it is.
That way, 2 people wouldn't be homeless, 2 people wouldn't have their credit in the toilet, 2 people would not have to go back to mama or whatever. You would be able to separate and say, it didn't work out. So you signed this lease together when?
In September of 2005.
And when did you move out, sir?
October 30th of 2005.
Are you still living in the apartment?
No, I'm not.
When did you move out?
February of 2006.
So you only stayed there for a couple of months?
I was there for 6 months.
November, December, January. You stayed till the end of February?
September to the end of February.
I'm not talking about September. He left in October. Did you pay October's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not.
Well, I don't know that. How do I know that? 2 years ago. Let's talk about November, December, and January. 3 months that you lived there, that he lived with you there for those 3 months.
Nobody. I lived by myself. He refused to sign off the lease, so I was unable to.
You say there was somebody else living in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am. Her friend Tracy, who is also my friend, and her witness's friend, moved in at the beginning of November.
How do you know that, sir?
Because I went over there and she was living there.
You went over there when?
To get the rest of my stuff at the beginning of November.
How do you know she was living there?
Because my friend was her boyfriend at the time and he was also going over there.
That's completely untrue.
Did she stay there?
She stayed there occasionally. If we would.
How occasionally?
A couple nights a week. If we went out, she'd stay over. But no, she did not pay rent. None of her things were there.
Well, you should have. How to pay rent? How many bedrooms in this apartment?
1.
Where did she sleep when she stayed over?
In my bed.
So?
Well, I don't think someone who stays 2 nights a week should have to pay rent.
Why not?
I guess.
Was it your agreement with him to move out?
I asked him to move out, yes, because
then you pay the rent.
Not paying rent.
Then you pay the rent.
Well, he should have signed off the lease, which he refused to.
Now, what did you do?
I couldn't do anything. He wouldn't sign off the lease. He kept threatening to come back and get the copies of the keys so he could come in and...
Madam, Where were you the last 2 years?
The last 2 years, I've had my own apartment and house, and I've working and going to school.
Okay, but where were you in the last 2 years? If you moved out in February of 2006, now we're talking about a year ago.
Yes.
Where were you in this last year?
I was trying to collect money from him, but
he weren't collecting. He didn't give you any money.
Exactly, I couldn't.
Well, then why didn't you sue him in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December? Why?
I was trying to be understanding of his situation with his car and everything like that, and he couldn't hold a job, so there's no way that he could give me any money.
What made you stop being understanding?
Well, because I'm just tired. It's ridiculous.
You lived in the apartment with sometimes Tracy? You pay the rent. What else?
He damaged my property, my couch, and stabbed my comforter.
Forget the comforter. I'm not interested in the 2-year-old comforter. How did he damage your couch?
He poured beer and dip spit all over it.
When?
On November 21st.
That's not true, ma'am.
You have a witness to that?
I do.
Go ahead.
On the day of November 21st, Desiree called me crying. I got over there. There was a gigantic hole in the wall when I walked in. The entire living room was trashed, stuff everywhere, food thrown around.
Where was he?
He was nowhere to be found.
Well, so you didn't see him do anything?
He was there that morning.
He was there that morning.
Just a second. You didn't see him do anything?
No, I didn't see him do anything, but the people that had stayed the night prior to that had seen him come over that morning.
Goodbye. Thank you. You have that Mr. Tatum was the cause of any damage to your property.
Well, because he called me screaming after he did it.
What did he say?
I can't believe you had those guys stay the night.
What guys is he talking about?
We had been drinking at my apartment. I had friends stay the night.
How many friends?
2. They had slept on the couch. And that's when he came over that morning to get his things.
Yes.
And he freaked out.
How do you know that?
Well, because they told me they were there. And then he came in with a tire iron and hit the wall.
What?
And poured everything on my
You
couch.
have absolutely no proof that he did any of that.
I
If
took
you have
pictures-
2 friends that you allowed to sleep at your house after they were drinking who witnessed him do it.
They didn't witness him do it. They witnessed him come in and make a scene, and then they left, and then he came back after that. He told me. I talked to him on the phone afterwards.
Did you ever acknowledge to her
No,
that
ma'am.
you destroyed her property?
No, ma'am.
Time to move on. Time to move on and get over it. Do you understand?
Yes.
This is a court, not nonsense. Case is dismissed. That's all.
And Tom Bradford, claiming they used her, destroyed her property, and stole precious mementos.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Ma'am.
Judge, number 230 on the calendar in the matter of Garrett versus Bradford Ullman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Miss Garrett, this is your granddaughter.
That's correct.
Your name is Bradford?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're her boyfriend?
Yes.
You live together?
Yes.
And you have 2 children?
3.
3 children. But they're not your children?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Garrett, you're suing your granddaughter and her boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because you rented them a house.
Yes, I did.
And you say that A, they did not pay rent.
That's correct.
B, they vandalized your house.
Yes.
And they took property that was yours from the house.
Absolutely.
When did you and why did you rent this house to them?
Well, Misty lived there prior for a year, approximately, prior to a year of her mom moving out.
So originally her mother lived there and she lived with her mother and her 3 children?
Exactly. And then the mother moved out, and Misty...
That's your daughter?
My daughter. Misty didn't have any place to go, nor the money to go anyplace else. So I told her I would rent her my house, and I did.
What was the monthly rental?
$466. That covers my mortgage payment.
Now you admit, Miss Ullman, that you did not make 1 rental payment.
Yes.
And that's after you say you were served with an eviction notice from your grandmother.
Yes.
So you admit that you owe her that money?
Yes, I do.
There came a time when you decided to evict her.
Yes.
Can you tell me why?
Well, for one thing, they were not paying the rent, which I needed. I'm on a fixed income. I needed the rent money to cover my own expenses. I have enough to take care of my own personal needs, but not that of Misty, her boyfriends, or her children. So I needed the money for that. And the eviction started over the payment. There was also other problems involved during the eviction.
Like what?
Over the children.
What?
I heard verbal abuse from Mr. Bradford with the 3 children. I was very much concerned about that. They were going to ship the young boy off to Alaska to a father that he hardly knew, to people that did not know him. And
You
I
mean
was
one of
very
her
upset.
oldest child they were going to send to the father's house.
In Alaska, because he was causing problems. He does have a behavior problem. But
How
to
close-
me, you don't have throwaway children.
How close do you live to them?
I lived about 60 feet in a studio apartment that's on the same property as my big house.
Before you served them with an eviction notice, did you tell them that you wanted them to move out?
Yes, I did.
Are you sure?
I sent them a letter asking them to come to me to work out a payment plan for the rents owed.
How many months' rent did they owe you by the time they left?
She stayed there. They stayed there. May I have a drink of water?
Please.
They stayed there for 3 months. They paid me a total of $580.
Do you have proof of payment of more than $580?
No, I do not. I used money orders, and I gave the money orders to my grandma, and then she went to the bank and made the payment.
She says that you gave her a total of $580 during the 3 months that you were living there.
We were there for 3 months, and I did pay the first 2 months. The third month I did not pay.
She says that one of the reasons she started eviction proceedings is because you weren't paying her.
No, that is not true. And
well, then
she's
do you have the
claiming-
receipts to show me 2 payments of $466
No,
each?
Your Honor, I do not.
And are you saying that the total they paid you was $580?
That's correct.
And she's also claiming that we owe, or that the rent was $466, which the mortgage payment and the insurance together is, but I was only responsible for $290 of it.
Why?
I didn't pay the insurance. That was not our agreement.
Just a second. Maybe when your mother was living there, it was split differently, but what was your mortgage payment?
$466.02, in fact.
You have proof of that?
Yes,
Shirley?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, actually the payments were $290 as they were when the mother lived there.
No. No. Who said so?
That's exactly how much they were.
She says that you had an understanding that you were going to pay whatever amount it was to cover her mortgage payment.
She's claiming $466, I believe, but that's not true, Your Honor.
Well, I want to see whether it's $466. She's going to show me.
The mortgage may, with the insurance may indeed be that, but that doesn't mean that was the agreement to pay that.
Well, why should she subsidize you? Where can you find a house for $466?
Well, I don't think that's the issue.
No, just a second. Where can you find a house for $466?
You can find them in Fresno. They're available. The people can scoff if they want. You're in Los Angeles. In Fresno, it's not uncommon to find a house for $450. It may not be palatial, but it'll be something that you can live in. And
Well, was this a nice house?
Yeah, it is. It is a nice house. It's an older house, 70 or 80 years old, and it's very large.
Well, $466 doesn't seem to me outrageous. So do you work?
Ma'am.
Do you work?
Do I work?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Well, I just got a job as a production supervisor with a poultry company.
What were you doing during the time that you were living with Miss Oman in her grandmother's house?
Well, you mean, was I seeking employment or was I working?
No, were you working?
No, at that time I wasn't working. I was seeking employment.
Well, who was supporting you?
I received unemployment.
How much?
$400 a month.
And were you working?
No.
Why not?
Well, I have a few things that I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic, and during that time I've been seeking therapy and help for myself and for my kids, and that...
Well, you certainly weren't living on $400 a month that he was getting from unemployment insurance, so you must have been subsidized by the state in some way. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were receiving welfare?
Yes.
How much?
A total of $620 a month.
So you were receiving $620 and he was getting $400. That's $1,000 some odd a month, more than enough to pay Grandma's mortgage.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother was slightly frustrated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lavelle Garrett claims her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and Misty's boyfriend, Tom Bradford, did not pay rent, stole, and damaged her property. Misty says her grandmother is trying to control her.
Now, let's get beyond the mortgage. Let's get to this vandalism. You have photographs of the house?
Yes, I do. It's under the green tag there that you have. I also have the color ones for you if you would like. Those are copies.
I'd like to see the originals, please. One of the things, Miss Garrett, that I'm sort of surprised at, well, I'm not faulting you because, you know, you came prepared for this lawsuit, but that you took such care to prepare this lawsuit when your granddaughter was involved. So my sense is that there's something more to this than just this property damage. Did you have a fight with her about sending this young boy to Alaska?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that fight with her?
It was after the eviction.
No, Your Honor, that's not true. It was prior to the eviction.
Okay, I couldn't be mistaken about that, Your Honor. I'm not sure. I mean, there's been an ongoing argument about this child for a long time because of my concern for his welfare.
Did you ever ask your granddaughter if your grandson could come and live with you?
He did live with me for 1 year. He was in my custody for 1 year. At this time, as we speak, he is living with my daughter.
With his maternal grandmother?
Right.
Is that through the state?
No.
By agreement?
By agreement between Mr. Bradford and Miss Oman.
Well, what does he have to do with it?
You tell me.
Nothing is the answer. I'd like you to look at some of these photographs and tell me whether any of this looks familiar to you.
I'd also like to add, Your Honor, this is a very sad day for me to have my granddaughter in court. I have loved this young lady for 24 years. And this is very, very sad for me to have her in court. But I've had it. I'm up to here with her, the men she's been dragging in and out of her children's life.
Your Honor, I'm trying to be polite and be reserved and be respectful of the court. And, you know, I'm just going to take a chance here and speak out. You know, I'm a good human being. I'm not going to be ashamed of the fact that I'm in between jobs. Many people in America are in between jobs right now. And it's nothing to laugh at or to be ashamed of. And I met Misty some months ago, in March, in fact, and we developed a relationship. And we had a good relationship. In fact, her suitor, Bob Magretta, hired me to do a number of odd jobs for him while I was in between jobs. And in fact, after the eviction, offered me work and offered us a place to stay in one of his apartments that he rents. And we have a letter here stating that, saying you can come and live in one of my apartments and you can continue to have your job. We're not bad people. And I love her children and I love her. And we're planning to have a future together.
Mr. Bradford, let me stop you, sir. I don't doubt certain of the things that you said to me. You don't fall in love with children after 6 months. As
I didn't say I fell in love.
Just a second. You said
I love the children.
You say you love her and you love her children. You don't
Yes,
love
I do.
her children. You don't love her children. You may tolerate 2 of them, certainly. You didn't love the third one. The third one was being sent away thousands of miles away from his siblings because clearly he was not thriving in your home, and he was probably, in all probability, you don't send the child away unless they are particularly troublesome.
He was going for a 4-week vacation, Your Honor, to see the father who she summons down to help with the child within the last few years. If you ask her, she'll tell you.
Just a second. That's not what it says in the answer.
When the psychiatric, when the doctors at the psychiatric facility recommended that we allow him to try to work out some of the unresolved issues by visiting with his dad.
What do you, Mr. Bradford, what do you think the unresolved issues are, sir?
Well, I'm not a professional in the psychiatric field, but
so you're not a professional, and you've been in this family for 6 months. You've been involved with these 3 children for 6 months. You have 3 children. Were you married once or more than once?
Once.
Once. And the father is, the person who lives in Alaska is the father of all 3 of your children?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. How many children is he the father of?
1.
1. And the other 2 children, do they have the same father?
No, Your Honor.
So I want you to listen to me very carefully, Mr. Bradford. What she said is she's had it up to here with the men that her granddaughter has brought into the lives of her grandchildren. And right now, very simple. I mean, just on its face, Misty acknowledges she had a substance abuse problem. Hopefully she's in recovery. But the bottom line is she has 3 children by 3 different men, only one of whom she was married to. She has a little boy who was clearly suffering as a result of A, his mother's addiction. She was, in all probability, neglectful of the children while she was involved with drugs. That's clear. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. While she was involved with drugs, involved with alcohol, she had 2 more illegitimate children with 2 other men. Now, Mr. Bradford, you can understand why her grandmother, who has probably been around for all of these tragedies that have gone on for her grandchildren, is slightly frustrated.
Well,
so don't tell me, sir, that we're good people, and I love all these 3 children, because this lady has heard that before.
Well,
you have to understand the frustration.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing
not.
at that. And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Airline technician Lavelle Garrett says her granddaughter, Misty Oman, and her boyfriend, Tom Bradford, owe her for back rent and damaged property. Misty says it all started when she sent her son away.
Now, all I want you to do is look at those photographs and you tell me whether any of that damage to her property looks familiar. Just look at it.
There are some things that I am responsible for, but
like
some
what?
of this, for example, the broken portable closet, no. This screen.
What are you responsible for?
The screen right here, the cat potty.
The what?
The feces, the cat feces that they left in my bathroom floor, plus cat litter in my kitchen with cigarette butts and cat feces in it. The pictures are all here.
You're not suing for that much money. Right now, you're almost to the amount of money from back rent.
This coffee cup right here that's broken on the porch, somebody threw that at the window. And I asked...
Keep going.
Your Honor.
What?
The doorbell was removed because he took it down. It didn't work. He took it down. He was going to repair it. Grandma said that she didn't have the money to repair it, so we just left it on top of the refrigerator. This stuff is all just a mess from moving.
Just a minute. What do you mean it's a mess from moving? Why did you leave a mess when you moved?
We were moving, so we had
Who was supposed to clean it up?
No.
Missy, who was supposed to clean it up? Did you come back and clean up your mess after you moved?
Yes, this stuff we took with us.
I'm talking about the mess after you left. Cat litter, cigarette butts in the cat litter, dirt all over the place. Did you come back and clean that up?
No, my grandmother did not want me to come back to clean it up.
Did you? You mean you called your grandmother and said, I left the house a mess, I want to come back just for a day just to clean up the mess?
No, my grandmother made it very clear, do not come back.
The sheriffs escorted her out, and when she forgot 1 or 2 items inside the place in her, hasty exodus from the residence, they wouldn't even let her back in to get those items, okay? And so, when a sheriff's there and the kids are all on the porch crying, and she's trying to get her stuff and get out. I'm not making her out to be an angel, but she's a good person, Your Honor, and I love her. And you see her sister over there crying, and I'll tell you why she's crying. Because you're making her out to, you're guessing, and I respect your position.
I'm not guessing, Mr.
That's
Bradford.
exactly what you're doing. That's exactly
I'm not
what you're
guessing,
doing.
sir. Am I guessing at the fact that Miss Oman has 3 children? Am I guessing?
That part you're not.
Am I guessing at the fact that each of her 3 children have 3 different fathers?
No,
not
you're
guessing
not.
at that. I'm not guessing at the fact that she was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I'm not guessing at that.
No, ma'am, you're not.
I'm not guessing at the fact that you've been involved in this family for less than a year. I'm not guessing at that.
No, you're not.
And I'm not guessing at the fact, sir, that you don't know one thing that went on in this family from your own personal knowledge for the last 10 years.
Well,
you don't know
I
that.
do.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Garrett, listen to me. Don't rent them an apartment anymore. I don't know if he's going to be long-term or short-term, whether he's going to be as long-term as the other 3 guys that were in your granddaughter's life. I haven't a clue. You've sued for very little money, slightly over $1,100. They owe you at least $800 in rent. That's your lawsuit. $1,184 is what your lawsuit was for. There is, based upon what I've seen, the mess alone in that apartment, as far as I'm concerned, takes at least $300 to clean up that kind of disaster. So, you tell me that this was a painful thing for you to do.
Yes, it is.
I not only think it's painful, I'm not so sure that I would have done it. I would have just said, from now on, I'm not going to bail my granddaughter out, and I would have eaten the $1,100. You chose not to do that, and I can't fault you for not saying, I'm going to chalk it up, and right from now on, they're on their own. It's sad that you brought her to court. She owes you the money. She owes you the money for rent, and she owes you the money for cleaning up the mess that she and her boyfriend left in your house. Judgment is for the plaintiff to the amount of $1,100. That's it, Miss Garrett. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I love my granddaughter very much. I went through a lot of hell with my granddaughter. I've always been there for her. But this time I have had it.
This is being there for her?
Can you please shut him up?
I mean, is this being there for your granddaughter? To humiliate her?
He's been in this family for 3 months. He's totally destroyed it.
You're such a wonderful parent. Why would she have been addicted to drugs? I'll stand by her. I'll be with her for some time to come. And I can tell you who won't be. These two people right here. Mark my words. You're here to prove that we've destroyed all this, that I'm a prisoner. Go ahead, walk away.
For assaulting her during an argument.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 333 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Ms. Sullivan, your complaint alleges that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
Over a year ago.
Right.
And you're suing him for the hospital bills.
Right.
So I want you to tell me where he assaulted you, how he assaulted you, and why you waited a year to bring this lawsuit.
Ron and I had known each other about 5 months, or we were together for about 5 months. After 3 months, we moved in together. And probably about 2 months after that, Ron and I had an argument in our apartment, and he asked me to leave, and I told him to go to his friend Jesse's house, and that I would be gone by the time he got back. It turned into just an argument, and he picked me up and he threw me out the door into the railing. I walked down the stairs into the Chevron station, where I called the police and my dad. The police came and arrested Ron. Ron and I didn't speak for 2 weeks. After that, we got back together, and Ron agreed to help me pay the hospital bill.
Okay, so you got back together again. And how long were you back together again?
Off and on, probably 7 months.
When you say off and on for 7 months, you mean you lived together?
No.
You didn't stay at his house?
No. After that, my cousin and my grandmother, after I left the hospital, had to go to my apartment and move me out because my knee was sprained, and I had 8 stitches in my face and a slight head concussion. And I moved into my Aunt Anna's house at that time.
So you never again stayed at his house?
No.
But you dated?
Yes.
And then what happened?
It just didn't work out. He agreed to pay half of the hospital bill or help me out with the bills. And when we broke up, I had called him and asked him if he was still going to help me, and he told me, good luck, I'm moving in November to go to the wrestling camp. Okay. So that's when I decided to take him to court.
You made an agreement with him, according to you, that you consented to for him to pay for half of the medical bills.
Right, and he had agreed to it.
Okay. And how much were the medical bills?
It's $1,177 now in a collection.
$1,177.
You're right.
That's the whole bill?
Yeah, in collection. The whole bill was $882.
Well, it was $882, and then they built up interest on it.
Right, which is on my name in collection.
Why didn't you pay any part of the bill?
Because I just hadn't done it, and then when
I know you hadn't done it, but my question is, why hadn't you done it?
I had just figured that Ron put me in the hospital, then he should have to pay for it. Why should I have to go through that and pay for it too?
Well, I'm just asking you. I understand that, but what I'm questioning you about is, if you agreed with him that he would pay half the bill, why didn't you, since you were going to pay the other half, pay the other half instead of stiffing the hospital completely?
I just didn't do it.
Well, that's not very responsible.
It's not.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress.
Now, you're suing him for a lot more than half of $1,177.
Right.
Why?
I'm suing him $1,200 for the 6 weeks of loss of work.
Why?
Because I missed work because of him.
But you were seeing each other after this incident. I'll get to you in a second.
Yeah, we were.
And even at the time when you separated 7 months later, according to you, you still said to him, what about the half of this hospital bill that you said you were going to pay?
And he didn't want to do it.
Well, so I still don't understand why now you're tacking on a lot of other things.
I had changed my mind. I had decided, why should I have to pay for half of it when it wasn't even my fault? He put me in the hospital. He should pay for the whole thing.
Yeah, but you, according to you, had an oral contract with him to pay for half of the bill.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Now, Mr. Smith, you want to tell me your version of these events, please?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, we did get into a verbal confrontation, and what it was when we were living together, she was purchasing cocaine. And I have 2 kids. I pay my child support. I only get to see one of them, and I didn't want anything to jeopardize my son being able to come and visit me in my home, and something like that would. I asked her to leave. She refused to leave. I didn't pick her up and throw her out the door. She got hit with the door. She stuck her foot in the door, and then I put my hand on her to get her out the door and close the door behind her. I did not physically pick her up and throw her out the door. I went through my anger management classes, and
you pled guilty to the assault.
I pled no contest.
That's the same as guilty.
Yes. I went through my anger management classes, and like she says, you know, I did agree to pay half of the hospital bill. I did. It was all fine and good until just a little while ago, What it is she calls me up, and when she does call me, she's drunk. And all she wants to do is make up. She's pledging undying love and affection. You know, she wants to be with. She comes to my work drunk. She calls me up drunk, telling me that she loves me. She just wants to be with me. She's never loved anybody like me before, and blah, blah, blah whatsoever. And when I told her, no, I'm sorry, I'm moving, I'm going to Atlanta, she wanted to come to Atlanta with me. After the incident happened, she quit her job so she could move to Minnesota because she was going to be with her mother. It had nothing to do with me at all. That's why she missed that work. She quit her job.
Okay.
I did not make contact with her after the incident. She made contact with me.
Tell me about this argument. The reason that you say that you pushed her out of the house was because of cocaine.
Yes.
Was she, according to you, selling cocaine?
She was buying it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Since when do I do drugs?
You don't smoke pot?
No, I don't.
You don't get drunk? You called the studio drunk off you.
And later today,
He broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
No, he needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Misty Sullivan says her ex-boyfriend Ron Smith assaulted her during an argument and wants him to pay for her medical bills. Ron doesn't deny he injured Misty, but says they agreed he would pay only half of the bills.
Tell me about this argument.
I tell her, I don't want this in my home. I told her that when she got off the phone. We argued about it. I don't want this in my home. Like I said, my son comes over. So the next day, I go to work and I come home and she's on the phone with one of her ex-boyfriends that she's making this cocaine deal with. And I told her right then and there, don't do it in this house. I don't care if you go down to the payphone down the street. Don't do it in here.
And that precipitated this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Ms. Sullivan, I just want to ask you one question. Does that have a ring of truth to it?
Yes, it does.
Good. So, that's what the argument was about. Well, say nothing. That doesn't excuse the fact, madam, that he put his hands on you.
No.
That doesn't excuse that. That's saying that he has a right to have you out of his house. If you're that dumb, that you would involve the household in a situation where even for a moment there was going to be a drug transaction taking place even on the phone. That still doesn't excuse someone of your size from giving her a shove outside, and she was clearly injured, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, somebody's got to pay for that, according to what she says, and according to what you seem to acknowledge, that you had agreed to pay for half of the medical bill. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you didn't pay and she didn't pay, so the only one that got stiffed so far is the hospital that provided the service. That doesn't sound fair, right?
Right.
So, you have to pay, sir. You have to pay half, and I'm going to round it off because I like round numbers. $1,177 we're going to take to $1,200, so the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your right.
I think the justice system is the best in the world. Thank you, Judge Judy. I'm sure she'll find something else to give me hell about before I leave. I got like another week or so.
And now the next case.
Parties on Urea versus Snyder. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Christy Urea says she and 24-year-old Christian Snyder were engaged to be married until she caught him cheating. She's suing for credit card bills and wedding expenses.
How old are you?
24.
Young looking. You're lucky.
Thank you.
But not smart. Because according to this complaint, you were engaged to the boss's daughter.
That would be me.
And you had a little tryst with somebody in the office. And then the engagement was over. And she says that you owe her money from all the things that she spent for the wedding and some other credit card bills. And you signed a note. And then she said you didn't pay. Is that what this is about?
Yes, he stopped paying. He had been paying for a while.
Okay, so that's pretty much what this is about. Was he working for your father at the time that you became engaged? Is that how you met him?
No, it's not.
Because becomes important in this story later. He said he was coerced into signing this note. So who was he working for when you met him?
He was working for an automotive shop somewhere down in Montclair.
As a mechanic?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And how long did you know him before he came to work for your father?
Probably a little over a year.
Is that right?
That's about right, yeah.
What kind of business does your father have?
An automotive repair shop.
So it was the same kind of business?
Yes.
And what were you doing for her father? Working as a mechanic?
Yeah, and also helping run the office.
Do you have any brothers?
Yes, I have a brother.
Does he work in the business?
No.
Do you have any other sisters?
I have a sister, yes.
Does she work in the business?
No.
So there you have a business that could grow into a business that's yours. Did that ever occur to you?
Yeah.
Then you became engaged when?
March of this year.
And you made certain preparations?
Yes, we did.
Like what?
Well, we reserved the chapel to get married. I have wedding invitations that we had made up. I had a dress. My girls got their dresses.
When? Just stop playing. Stop playing. Look at me. When was this wedding supposed to take place?
August 30th.
And tell me when the engagement was broken.
July, beginning of July.
By whom and why?
By him, because he said he needed to find himself, and then I found out he was sleeping with one of the girls from my dad's work.
How did you find that out?
Because his mother called me at midnight and told me, because I guess she'd gone by his mom's house.
The girl had gone by his mom's house? Did you confront him with that?
Yep.
What'd he say?
He tried to talk his way around it, and I went to the girl's house, and his car was there, and he admitted to it. And then he tried to come back to me after that, and then he went back to her, and he played a game for a little while.
Did you tell your father?
Oh, yes.
So you were willing to go through with this wedding even though you found out that he was fooling around. So
no.
Because you said he broke the engagement.
Yes, he broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
That's not, that's the reason why, but that's not the reason he gave me.
What was the reason he gave you?
He needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Same girlfriend that you were meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christy Urea called off her wedding when she discovered her fiancé, Christian Snyder, was cheating. She's suing for wedding expenses and credit card bills. Christian says he paid Christy's college tuition, making them even.
So then you signed a note, right?
Yes.
It's right here.
Well, show it to him because that'll make it easier. I don't have to show him the copy that I have. Got the note that you signed, sir?
Yes.
Well, tell me about that, because you say you were coerced into signing the note.
I was told that if I signed it, it could be negotiated later, but I needed to sign it so I could get back to work, and I was afraid of losing my job.
Okay, let's start. You were presented with this note. By whom?
By her father.
In the office?
Yes.
You signed it?
Yes. I was afraid I'd lose my job if I didn't sign it, and I needed to pay child support.
So, you had a choice of either signing the note or going to find another job, right?
Yes, let's put it that way.
Did you honestly believe, sir, that her father was going to keep you on the payroll after he found out that you were fooling around with somebody else in his business?
He told me I could.
I got a bridge I want to sell you. You're 24 years old and you tell me that you have child support that you have to pay.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
One.
How old?
She's going to be 5.
So you were a teenager when you had this child, right?
Yes.
Were you married to the child's mother?
Yes.
Is that your only marriage?
Yes.
So you signed this note for $3,000. Is that what it was?
$3,200, yes.
And according to you, you paid some of it.
Yes.
And she acknowledges that you paid some of it.
I wrote him a receipt every time he made me a payment.
Made you a payment, but money was also deducted from his check at work.
Yes, and my father wrote him receipts. I have those. That's how they started, and I continued writing them.
Let me see the receipts. Well, the last one was in September, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a balance due of $2,294.
That's correct.
And you're still suing for $3,000.
Yes.
Explain that to me.
I have a proposal I had done. He kicked holes in my wall and attempted to fix them.
When?
The last month that we were together, when he started acting really bizarre.
Before or after you had him sign this note?
Before.
Forget it. What's next?
The wedding invitations that I had to pay my mother back for.
You had ordered those invitations before this note, correct?
Yes.
Well, look, Miss Urea, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here. You, at a time, memorialized in writing and had him sign, your father had him sign, what he owed you as of a date certain.
He, according to you, made certain payments. These are all the payments that she says she has. And do you get a copy of these receipts?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any question in your mind that the last receipt indicates that the balance due was $2,294?
I believe that's what it was, yes.
Okay. So, now you explain to me, sir, why you don't owe her this money.
Because I don't have any of the stuff she wants me to pay for. I also paid for her school, which I was never reimbursed for. I figured we'd just make it even.
Well, did you have an agreement with her to pay?
A verbal agreement, she was going to pay me back, yes.
Well, explain that to me.
I gave, because her father would pay for school only if she got good grades. So in order to get started, she needed money to go to school, to pay for first semester, and then her father would pick it up from there.
How much did you pay?
I don't exactly know how much it was.
Well, if you don't know, I don't know.
I believe it was maybe $200, including books and stuff.
Give me another reason why you don't owe this money. The first one I'm shelving.
The whole time we were together, I was also helping her on her credit cards and stuff like that. Just from the past year, I have almost $2,500 in canceled checks and stuff to her credit cards.
So?
That's not
You both used her credit cards. You're clutching at straws, Mr. Snyder. You signed a note for $3,200. You're 24 years old. You've been married once, divorced once. You're the father of a child. That's the end of the story. If you had said to me that her father coerced you into signing this note because he took your left ankle and tied it around your right ear, right? And he was torturing you, that's against the law.
Well, you don't know her father. I mean, he has called me, threatening me that he's going to come take it from me and stuff like that.
You mean when you didn't pay?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different story. When you didn't pay, I'm talking about when you signed the note. And according to you, you felt coerced into signing this note because you were afraid to lose your job.
Not only that, her father is extremely intimidating.
What do you mean he's extremely intimidating, sir?
He just is. He's very
Like me?
hot-tempered.
Huh?
No, actually, he's more intimidating than you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, you signed the note, you have an obligation to pay it. It's as simple as that. Not smart to fool around like that, Mr. Snyder. You living with anybody now, sir?
Yes.
Who?
My girlfriend?
Same girlfriend that you were
Yes.
meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting? All right, what's the bottom line here? Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,294. Thank you, that's all.
Thank
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You came crying back to me because you were so confused, because you're so distraught at the age of 24.
Yeah, who showed up at whose house at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, to beat your little girlfriend up, that's why. He did this to his ex-wife, he did this to his other ex-girlfriend, and he owes all kinds of women money. So women everywhere can look at him and know this is the kind of guy he is. He's a man, a real man.
No, look at how she's acting now. It just kind of shows how she was at home, too.
Sergio Castro sexually harassed her at work. Sergio says he was just patting her on the back.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 437 on the calendar in the matter of Robinson versus Castro. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, sir, have a seat, please.
Ms. Robinson, your complaint alleges that you were hired as a cashier in a restaurant that was managed by the defendant, that you were sexually harassed by the defendant in the restaurant, and when you complained about it to the owner, you were fired. Is that what this case is about?
Yes, Your Honor.
When were you hired by this restaurant?
I was hired November 20th, 1997.
And who hired you?
The owner of the restaurant did.
When did you first meet the defendant?
I met him the day that I was hired at the restaurant. I met him that morning. The owner was there, he hired me, and he told me that he wouldn't be there during the afternoon, but Sergio would be there to help me if I needed anything.
And what were your duties in the restaurant?
My duties were to run the register, take phone orders, take the in-store orders, the way you had it set up. When you come in, you place your order, sit down, and your food would be brought to you. I would take those orders. I would just, if they needed help running the food out, I would do that, and occasionally I would wait the tables.
Tell me about this first experience that you had with sexual harassment by the defendant.
Okay, well, when I first started, he would come over to me while doing my job and pat me on the back.
Slowly.
Okay, he would pat me on the back. That would excite me a little bit since I had just started.
How would he pat you on the back?
Can I show you my husband? I don't want to be
Who is
charged
this?
or anything. That's my husband.
Stand up, sir. You could show me on your husband.
Okay, he would just come over to me and pat me on the back and things like that when I was doing a good job, and I didn't think nothing of it. I thought he was trying to boost my ego. And from there, it went to, you're gonna have to stand for me. It went to like just a pat on the butt. It kind of made me feel awkward at that point. Didn't say nothing. It just went from like to a rub on the butt. A lot of times he'd just stand there and just put his arm around me, rub my back when I was talking to a customer.
Did you sit down? You were very good.
Thank you.
Did you tell him that made you feel uncomfortable?
I did tell him at one point. I said that I'm just here for a business-like environment. That's it. I told him, I said, you are married, I'm married. I have a daughter, you have a daughter. I said, I am in no way, shape, or form attracted to you, nor do I have any feelings for you.
At what point did you say this to him?
This was about 2 days after I worked there. At first, I didn't want to say anything to him, lose my job, so I'd go home several times and tell my husband, look, this is happening at the restaurant. I just told him. He said, well, confront him. Tell him you don't want him to do it. So I told him, and after telling him it didn't do anything, so I called the owner at his home and told him what was going on. He just told me he had never had a complaint on Sergio as long as he'd been open, which was 2 weeks, and that he didn't believe me. He told me, take a couple days off, I'll call you back. Well, I took 2 or 3 days off, never called me back. So I called him at his other restaurant. He owns 3 restaurants. I called him at the big restaurant, and I told him, I said, look, something has got to be done. So I'm feeling very, very insecure working there. And he just told me, I'll talk to him, I'll talk to him, I'll talk to him.
Had you gone into work?
No, after I told him what was going on, I told him, I'm on my way into work right now. I said, okay, so I'm going to go into work. And he said, no, I don't need you. He said, I've got someone else to fill your place for right now. After the second, I hadn't heard anything. And I said, I went to the other restaurant. He told me to meet him there. I picked up my paycheck, asked him if he had talked to Sergio. He said, yes, he did. Sergio had no clue what I was talking about. Now, I do want to bring this to your attention, Your Honor. It's not only me, but 3 other girls. The other 2, at this point, don't want to stand up for ourselves. Our town is so little. My reputation is ruined at this point. So
Why is your reputation ruined?
It's talk constantly. People tell me that I'm just trying to get money out of him, and I've got harassing phone calls from people that I used to work with. At one point, my husband and I decided to go through a divorce because he wanted to say something to Sergio about this. I just told him, look, just let it go, let it go. And as I said, it's caused me a lot of problems. I have a 7-month-old baby. I can't even support at this point. That social services is trying to take him from me.
Why is social services trying to take your baby?
Because his parents can provide for her better than I can. We're living with his parents right now, and I haven't bought diapers, formula, nothing.
You mean the 2 of you were living with his parents?
We're living with them right now. We had planned to have a house by Christmas, but when I got fired, I didn't have the money to do so.
What kind of job does your husband have?
He works with his dad part-time doing carpentry. So
what does he do with the other part-time?
Stay home. He hasn't been working. I haven't worked since I was fired.
And when were you fired?
I was fired on December 2nd. That was when I told the owner that I wanted to work for the weekend. I said, can I work with you through the weekend? He just told me, he said, no, come and get your paycheck. And when I got there, that's when he didn't actually tell me that I was fired. He told me that he did not need help anymore. This was on December 2nd. But yet I've got a newspaper dated December 3rd, December 10th, and February 4th, where he's dying for help. He says a fast-paced restaurant, pizza person, and a hostess cashier. That was my job. So at least I've got these newspapers if you want to look at those.
I believe you.
So like I said,
Are you related to the owner of this restaurant, sir?
No, I'm a friend of him.
Friend of his?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me your version of the events after you met the plaintiff?
Okay, well, like she said, I did pat her on the back for a good job. Well, she's doing good in the beginning. And about the other part, the kitchen is pretty small in the restaurant. It is pretty tight, and she was told a few times to stay away from the kitchen. Therefore, accidents, I handle hot food, whatever, so I turned around, and I had the people right next to me. So I can't avoid touch somebody, because I can see on my back, and I just turn around, and the person is right there.
Right. So what you're saying to me is that maybe you couldn't avoid touching her because it was so small in the kitchen.
If I did touch, it was an accident. There's no meaning on it.
Now, you see, Mr. Castro, you have to start to think logically. Miss Robinson needed a job, right?
Yeah.
She came to work on time?
She did.
And she didn't leave early?
No.
And she didn't call in sick?
No.
So she was, in that way, a responsible employee.
The thing is, we never tell her we don't need you anymore. All right? We never tell her she was fired, and we never tell her that she...
You just didn't give her hours?
Well, we cut her hours in order to try somebody else, because we couldn't try somebody else when she's working.
Your Honor, my hours were cut from 40 hours to nothing.
Who were you?
I worked there.
Just a second.
She worked with us, and she can tell you
Nobody ever had 40 hours there. Sorry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So you saw somebody touch your wife's behind, and you didn't say anything.
It kind of got underneath my skin, but I'm just not much of a talker.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Restaurant hostess Dana Robinson complained about the cook Sergio Castro touching her. She says she was then asked not to return to work. Now she's suing for sexual harassment.
She needed the job. She has child to support. So she was uncomfortable, and she called your boss. And you acknowledge that she called the owner, correct?
The owner told me that, and
good.
That she called.
That she called and complained.
Yeah. So I talked to her.
You're Beth? I'm Beth. Well, step up here for a second. Now, Beth, when were you hired by this restaurant?
At its inception.
So about 2 weeks before she started?
More than likely. I don't remember exactly how long I'd been there when Dana started.
Couple of weeks.
I do remember the first night that Dana worked there. And
just a second, I'm not finished with my question. What was your job?
My job is also to run the register. So when we have one behind the register, the other one could be on the floor. There were two of us. But there's really only, at this time of year, room for one person there. It's not that busy right now. However, is trying to find people who he can trust, who get along well with his other workers.
Don't tell me what he's trying to do.
That's all. That's why he doesn't give anyone 40 hours.
All right. Now.
She never gave 40 hours anyway.
She got 40 hours. How many hours did you work when you were there?
38.5 hours is the first week that I worked there, and I talked to the owner's wife, and she said that was written on my check, was 38.8 hours.
Okay. Now, how were you hired for this job, Beth?
Well, I worked with a restaurant that is, well, the area we live in is really seasonal. I started the day that another restaurant opened down the road in Glenville.
Who did
I
you
worked
know?
Until it closed.
Who did you know?
I know. I've known him for years.
Okay, and that's why you were hired?
Partly.
Okay.
A lot of people know the owner.
Did you know the owner?
Yes, I had a seasonal job at a country club, and he come down there to help us one day. I worked in the kitchen there with all men, never had a problem with sexual harassment. And I told him at that point, I said, look, season's almost over, I need a job. He said, come talk to me. He's like, you know, I'll work you. He said, you do such a great job down here.
You all keep saying seasonal jobs. What kind of seasonal job is this? Is this a resort
spring,
community?
Summer and fall. It's like
In the
a
winter,
small town on the mountains in North Carolina. A lot of people come from the season, and it's nice up there.
Your Honor, where we're from, you've got one Hardee's in town, okay? Who's trying to do fast food in a town that is used to sit down.
Fast food is
good food.
Listen to me. Fast food is not what she's complaining about. She's complaining about fast hands.
But nobody...
Right? She's complaining about fast hands. And, Mr. Castro, you see, one of the things you acknowledge is that you sort of gave her a pat, rub on the back. Listen to me. You're not supposed to put your hands on anybody. But if I believe you, then what you're telling me is she was doing a good job.
She was doing
and all of a sudden, she got her hours cut to nothing.
She didn't follow the rules. Don't go behind the line.
Baloney.
No, it's not baloney. She keep going on there. The line is...
No, just a second.
The really small kitchen.
A really small kitchen? I don't have to see the really small kitchen. When did you tell her, Mr. Castro, when did you tell her that she was violating the rules by going into the kitchen?
We told her a few times.
No,
don't go in the kitchen.
Not wait. When did you tell her?
Sometime in December, I don't remember.
Did he ever tell you not to?
I was fired the 2nd of December. How could he tell me sometime in December?
So?
My last day of working was after Thanksgiving.
Ms. Robinson, listen to me.
All right.
Did he ever say to you, you're violating the rules by going into the kitchen?
Once he did tell me, he said, look, we're busy in the kitchen. You need to go back to where you were. And that was it.
Okay, and when did he tell you that?
This was maybe my 3rd or 4th day working there.
Okay.
What she could be doing?
And Mr. Castro, certain things have a ring of truth to it, sir. Now, I'm not suggesting that there was anything more than what you might refer to as playful patting.
In the shoulder. And she never mentioned anything to me.
No. She did not complain to the boss because you were patting her on the shoulder like this and saying, great job. That's not what she was complaining about. She was offended enough to call the owner in a restaurant where she needed a job. There aren't lots of jobs in that community, so she's taken a certain risk by calling the owner and saying, I'm having trouble at this job, tell him to keep his hands to himself. Is that pretty much what you told him? Have you ever done that before in the 3 years that you've been working?
She said she liked it when he did that at first. And it was this, but I can't imagine him doing
Just a second. Hey,
it made her feel good.
Just a second. I'm not talking to you.
All right, that's fine.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to you.
Okay.
Did you ever tell Beth that he had touched you?
I didn't talk to Beth much for the simple fact Beth.
No,
the
just
owner,
answer my question.
No, I don't. I didn't talk to Beth much because they.
So you never complained to her about this?
Never complained to her about it. I did complain to her about her trying to do my job.
That's not what I asked you.
That, but it's
not what I asked you.
Complaining about Sergio touching me? No, I never talked to her about that.
So the answer is no.
That's what I said. No.
Good. No, you said it, and it took too long for you to say it. I got other things to do today.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He gave her a pat, sir.
Yeah, you can see the part of the shoulder.
No, shoulder.
Yeah,
shoulder. I'm going to give you an anatomy class, Mr.
She never
Castro.
say anything.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Dana Robinson says 32-year-old Sergio Castro sexually harassed her. He says he was just patting her on the back.
You know, it doesn't sound to me as if, Miss Robinson, you are a shrinking violet. You know, you pretty assertive.
My husband is also a witness as to seeing what went on with that.
With what?
With when he patted me on the butt. He was working there at that time, and he did see it.
Did you see it?
Yes, ma'am. I did see it.
Look at my eyes.
I'm sorry. He said that he told her to stay out of the kitchen area. When things calmed down in the restaurant, I noticed numerous times that when somebody...
Is your last name Robinson?
Yes, ma'am.
You stood up here so that I could ask you a question, so that you could give testimony with regard to what you saw with regard to any unlawful touching.
I'm sorry.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now answer that question. Did you ever, look at my eyes, see him touch your wife?
Yes.
When?
When she was working there.
Tell me about it.
He plays it off. He uses his patting on the back and then the rubbing thing.
Tell me what you saw.
I seen him pat her on the back. He slid his hand down and patted her on the butt.
When did you see that?
I'm not sure what day it was. I'm not very good when it comes to keeping up with dates.
Just a second. Just a second. And where were you when you saw that?
I was out in like the dining room area.
And exactly, you saw him pat her on the back.
Yes, ma'am.
And show me what you saw on her.
I seen him. It was basically
Turn
more
around,
like
please. I can't
It
see.
was basically more of like a rub than a pat.
Yeah.
He just done this and then it just done this.
Right. And then what did you do?
Can I say something?
No, not yet.
Okay. I didn't say nothing.
You didn't say anything?
No, it kind of got underneath my skin, but I'm just not much of a talker.
You can say what he's saying.
So you saw somebody touch your wife's behind, and you didn't say anything. And what did your wife say to you?
She asked me if I seen it, and I said no. I told her no.
Why did you say no?
I just really didn't want to get in it at the time because, I mean, she'd been coming to me earlier telling me about it, and I was just like, well, you know, don't say nothing about it, don't say nothing about it, just keep doing your job.
Well, didn't you want to deck him when you saw him touch your wife?
I didn't want to get in trouble. I mean, I've had some problems and I've been in trouble before, and it's just, I can't do anything else to get in any more trouble.
Sit down.
Can I say something?
He certainly knows Sir Galahad, your husband.
No, it's not that. I'll be truthful with you. He's on probation right now for violence. And if he violates his probation, it's 120 days in jail. He told me that if he was to hit Sergio...
I didn't ask him whether he should deck him. I said, did he want to deck him? But certainly not only didn't he confront him about it, when you asked him, did you see that? He said no.
He just told me that I was a big girl, I can handle myself.
Yeah, he said no because that's a lie. I didn't touch her, and he can't see anything because the counter is that high.
Mr. Castro.
And I didn't touch it. I mean,
Mr.
from
Castro.
the dining room,
Mr. Castro.
you can see nothing on the kitchen.
Mr.
And
Castro.
I never touched her anyway.
He gave her a pat, sir.
Yeah, you can see the part of the shoulder.
No, shoulder.
Yeah,
shoulder. I'm going to give you an anatomy class, Mr.
She
Castro.
never say anything.
Yeah. She did say something, Mr. Castro. She did say something. She called the owner of the place. You think that this lady, listen.
She never mentioned nothing to me, and when I asked her, she said she denied calling the owner for that.
Now, listen. No job is a guarantee, Miss Robinson. No job is a guarantee. This wasn't a job that was paying you 50 grand a year, right?
No.
Okay. And you haven't worked since? I don't know why you haven't worked since.
At this point, like I said, my reputation is gone. I've had people.
I don't know why your reputation is gone.
I've had people from his restaurant calling me saying things.
Nobody called from the restaurant.
I'm not allowed to mention the girl's name, but the girl had quit there on her own because of Sergio also. It started with
the girl that she's mentioning, she's hired.
And she's back.
She went back because she asked me for a job.
Wow.
And she's back. And she told me that she asked her to come here with her.
Listen,
she said no.
Enough already.
That's not a lie. That's
Listen,
a lie.
sometimes you have to...
The other girl that she's mentioning, she denied it because she asked her to do it. And she said no. So that's a lie.
I'm going to give you one more second.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Judges have to make decisions based on common sense. Now, the common sense of this situation is that Miss Robinson needed a job. She needed a job desperately because she had... Am I talking?
Yeah.
She had a job. She had a job that she wanted to keep. She had family to support, and she had Prince Charming over here who certainly was not providing a lot. And by the way of support, moral support. You see my mouth moving?
We tried to help.
You see my mouth? You see my mouth moving?
Giving the husband a job, and he
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,000. That's all.
All right, so excuse you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I don't have anything personal against Dana at all, but I just know that Sergio himself would never intentionally touch her with the intent of any kind of hormonal stuff.
I have calls from people that work at his restaurant, which the girl he was saying is hired back, telling me I need to drop the charges because it's going to cause problems between him and his wife. Because it's going to cause problems between him and his wife. So at this time, his wife wasn't here, so like I said, if she doesn't know now, she will.
35-year-old Major Castleberry is suing 39-year-old apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 361 on the calendar in the matter of Castleberry versus Thomas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen.
I'll wait for you, sir. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You are the apartment manager.
Yes, ma'am.
In a complex where the plaintiff lives, correct?
No, he doesn't live there.
He doesn't. Did he live there?
No.
He was just visiting there.
He was just visiting.
And you were there visiting a couple that you say you take care of.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And you claim he assaulted you.
That's correct.
You want to tell me how that came about?
Yes, ma'am. From point A to point Z, I was actually I was visiting Mr. Bob Miller here, and actually I went to the store for him, and I came back. While at the store, I met a young lady, asked me to give her a ride, you know, up the way towards where we live, where actually Bob lived. And
where do you live?
I live in Emeryville. I used to live next door to Bob Miller for 11 and a half years before I moved.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. And as we me and this, the young lady I gave a ride, you know, up to where Bob lived, we're sitting out in front of the apartment complex, and we're just sitting there talking. And you know, I acknowledged Zach was on the first level there, and Zach says, I spoke to him, how you doing, Zach? We never had a problem prior to this.
So you knew him from before?
Yes, ma'am. I've known him since I've lived there. I used to be the manager of the building adjacent to his. And so Zach came to the vehicle and says, "Hey, man, you know, what are you guys doing sitting in front of the apartment complex? Don't you know, people get shot for sitting in front of, the apartment complex." So Zach proceeded up the stairs, and I thought about what he said, and I told the young lady, I said, "Hey, well, let's go up, to Bob's apartment, right?"
To Bob's apartment?
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Bob Miller. And so we goes into the apartment and sitting down talking, conversating, and 45 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. And the door, and so I go and answer the door, ask who is it? He says, "Zach." So I open the door to see, yeah, Zach, what is it? And then he, proceeded to push the door in, forcefully push it. I said, "Man, you can't do this, man. That's not right. You're out of line." And he, pushed me into the partition there, and he grabbed a plant, and he tried to hit me over the head with the plant, but the vase that the plant was in fell, hit the ground, so therefore he was left holding dirt in his hand. And also, he struck me upside the head, and I received damages from that.
What kind of damages?
I have like a scar tissue under my temple area here.
Did you go to the doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a doctor's
yes, ma'am,
bill,
I have.
Report?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So, what happened?
Okay, on July the 2nd, I normally make my rounds of my building, making sure the building is safe, making sure that nobody's hanging out in front of the building. Then I observed Major Castleberry sitting inside this car. I don't know, he was smoking something.
you know. And
what do you mean he was smoking something?
He was smoking something that I assume it was, you know, like crack, because, you know, he's a, you know, abuser. And and also, when they got out the car, the young lady got out and came to my building, and before she walked up the stairs, she had used the restroom right in front of my stairs.
You mean she just
used the restroom in front of my stairs?
You mean she urinated in front of your stairs?
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't use a restroom because it wasn't a restroom, it was the stairs.
It was the stairs, yes, ma'am. And
you saw this, sir?
Yes, ma'am. And this was around between 3:30 and 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning. Okay, and then when Major Castleberry proceeded up the stairs into the house, I didn't think nothing of it until he just opened up the door and just went in. And
so
then,
you were concerned that you didn't see him knock at the door, or that you didn't see Bob let him in. He just opened the door and went in.
Right, he just, you know, because he just opens the door and just walks in. I knocks on the door, he cracks the door. Then I observe that when he cracks the door, my concern is with Bob.
So what did you see when he opened the door crack, you mean?
I seen this naked woman standing up, getting her clothes off the floor.
Was that the same woman?
The same woman that he was in a car with.
Who you saw using your staircase as a bathroom?
Right.
Okay.
And then as she was standing in the middle of the room floor naked, and then I said, I want to talk to Bob. And then he go tell me that you're not going to talk to no one, and slam the door in my face. So I'm assuming that he just got upset because I disturbed whatever he about to do. When he slammed the door, I talked through the door. I said, I want to talk to Bob to make sure Bob know that you're in the house. Because I don't know if he let the door open for you, or I don't know that you just walked in. Because Bob always have people coming inside his house, drinking with him, and always leaving out with money of his after he passed out of drinking. I said, okay, if you won't open the door, I'll just go call the police, and then so I can see, is Bob okay?
So, did you do that?
Yes. And then the two couples came out, him and his girlfriend, came out the house, and they start arguing about 4 a.m. in the morning to top of their lungs. Then I was trying to come to them. I said, look, y'all can't be yelling in my building at 4 a.m. in the morning.
And where was this taking place, this yelling and screaming?
Right outside, because they had stepped outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And you take her up to the apartment with Bob passed out on the couch.
Well, Bob was actually asleep, you know.
He was in a deep sleep.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Major Castleberry is suing apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault. Zachary claims Mr. Castleberry was causing problems in his building and was attempting to detain him until the police arrived.
This is outside the apartment, so how did he get hit in the head?
Okay, then after I went to trying to calm them down, and then the door was already open. So I seen Bob laying down, face down on the couch. So I went to the apartment to see was he okay. Major Castleberry came in and started shoving me, well, tried to shove me out the door. You know, I said, Major, you know, get your hands off me. Then he kept on shoving me, kept on shoving me, kept on shoving me. And then I wouldn't budge. So I detained him against the wall and said, Major, be still until the police come. Then I heard footsteps coming up the stairs or down the stairs. So anyway, I heard footsteps. Then when I turned and looked to see who was that, when I turned back around, he had hit me in, somewhere in the cheek area, you know. Jesus. He had struck me first in the cheek area. And then he struggled trying to get it loose, started trying to get it loose. Then as he kept on trying to get it loose, trying to hit me still, kept on trying to swing, that's when I countered and hit him to calm him down. Then after I hit him, then he come
Why did you pin him, sir? Mr. Thomas, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that you felt as if you were protecting the tenant or trying to make sure that the tenant was okay in your building.
Right.
What I don't understand is, sir, once you saw the tenant in your building, who you know, according to you, drinks, and you saw him, according to you, sort of passed out on the couch, right?
No, I didn't know he was passed out.
You saw him face down on the couch?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you saw. So you knew he was okay?
No.
Or as okay as he has been other times when you've seen him if you said, you know, he drinks, right?
Right.
So why did you try to detain this man?
Because he was swinging on me
No, he wasn't swinging on you, sir, until you went into the apartment.
When I first came to the apartment, knocked on the door, like I said before, and then he refused to let me speak to my tenant.
He doesn't have to let you speak to your tenant, sir. You know that. I mean, I'm not faulting you. I think you were trying to do your job. I don't think that there was anything malicious about your intent. I really don't. Except that because you had certain grounds to believe that the people who were going into that apartment were not wrapped too tight that evening. You know, you have a woman using a staircase as a bathroom.
That's a plain lie, Your Honor.
Mr. Castleberry?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing out sitting in the car 3:30 in the morning with this lady that you picked up at the store?
Obviously, Your Honor.
No. Look at my eyes, Mr. Castleberry.
No
Mr.
problem.
Castleberry.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you met this lady when you were going out to the store.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were going to the store to get what?
Well, I was going to the store.
Look here.
Oh, fine. I was going to the store for Bob to get him a bottle of liquor, actually.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were going to the liquor store, and at the liquor store you met this lady who needed a ride.
Correct.
To where she lived.
Basically, no, ma'am. She just actually wanted to ride up the street. She didn't ask me to take her home. She just asked me, you know, basically the conversation went like, you know, can I hang with you, right? I said, well.
At the liquor store where you went.
No, this.
You went to the liquor store.
This is not a liquor store. This is actually Walgreens, you know, and that's why I met the lady on the way out of the store, and she asked me.
So she asked you, the lady who you met coming out of Walgreens, said to you, "Can I hang with you?"
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Castleberry.
Yes, ma'am.
As much as I hate to admit it, sir, I wasn't born yesterday.
Okay, though. Well, that's the truth, Your Honor.
Now you, who I'm sure hadn't had anything to drink that night, is that right?
I had some beers or what have you, but yet and still I wasn't.
What's the what have you?
Some beers.
It's a what have you that I'm interested in.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I had beers.
Then you had some beers and you went to get some more liquor for both you and Mr. Bob over here, who was passed out on the sofa. And you meet the young lady outside of Walgreens who wants to hang with you. And you take her up to the apartment with Bob passed out on the couch. So far, am I getting this picture right?
Well, Bob was actually asleep, you know.
He was in a deep sleep. Is that right, Bob?
No, it isn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There was no reason for him to be alarmed by him seeing me going there into Bob.
With a lady who had just urinated on the stairwell.
That's not true.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke. Yes, ma'am.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Major Castleberry is suing apartment manager Zachary Thomas for assault. Zachary says Major may have been committing a crime and he wanted to hold him for the police.
This young lady, why did you bring her up to Bob's house?
Actually, it was actually, I don't know, no premeditated anything of that matter. It was no harm, no law broken. You know, I told her, yeah, sure, you can come on, and we just conversating, just talking. And also, Your Honor, it's people trying to make a mockery out of this situation. Yet and still, what happened to me basically shouldn't have happened at all. You know?
I absolutely agree with you,
yes,
sir.
Yes, ma'am. So that's the bottom line.
Absolutely agree that it shouldn't have happened
Definitely.
to you.
Right.
He was trying to make sure that his tenant was safe because you have had no prior problems with this man.
Never. And Zachary
Just a second. You've had no prior problems with this man.
Never.
But he was concerned for the following reason. He was concerned because you were bringing a woman up to Bob's apartment, a woman who we had seen, and I absolutely believe him when he says that she was urinating in the hallway.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely believe it. Okay? Because quite frankly, sir, I think that you may tell me that you were not intoxicated that evening, but I think that you and Bob had done a little drinking, if that's all you were doing. If that's all you were doing. So that you weren't in complete control of what was going on. Now, he may not have acted 100% appropriately. You understand that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
But he says that you hit him first.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Well, he says that you hit him first, but then again, he was pinning you against a wall, a partition.
A partition wall.
A partition. So he put his hands on you, and I don't think he had any right to do that. I don't think he had any right to put his hands on you, because what he came in and saw was two guys who were semi-inebriated, and according to him, with a naked woman in the apartment. Something that I would not necessarily encourage, but which is not a crime.
It's not true.
Listen, Mr. Castleberry, this whole scenario that evening doesn't sound totally kosher to me. You know what that means? Totally right. Because I don't know what you're bringing some lady that you just met off the street, whether it's at 10 o'clock at night or 3 o'clock in the morning, up to this man's house for. What do you don't know anything about her. You know? You're pretty well sauced, he's pretty well sauced. Everybody's sauced, and you bring a stranger up to the house that can clean him out and go into the bedroom where his 92-year-old mother was sleeping and slit her throat.
No.
You know, I mean, all that is possible. This is somebody that you didn't know.
May I actually say something,
Yeah,
Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Actually, Your Honor, none of this, Zach have known me since 1985. I've never been in jail, never been in no trouble, or nothing of that matter, period. And he know that, hey, there was no reason for him to be alarmed by him seeing me going there into Bob.
With the lady who had just urinated on the stairwell.
That's not true.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke. Yes, ma'am.
I believe it's true.
Okay, doke.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The reason I put my hands on him, because he put his hands on me first, shoving me out the apartment.
You had no business being in the apartment after you saw that he was in the apartment still breathing.
Okay.
Except that this woman, but the woman, according to you, was outside, right? At the time when this took place, the woman was outside the apartment, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I mean, I understand your concern, Mr. Thomas.
And there was an arrest there at the same time.
A what?
The police did arrest the woman.
For what?
For being intoxicated, wouldn't shut up, and wouldn't listen to reason. The police handcuffed her and took her to jail.
Interesting. They took her away in handcuffs?
He's lying.
No. He's not.
All right. Okay, doke.
No, he's not.
All right.
He's not lying. Mr. Castleberry, you
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
use better judgment, sir, if you have better judgment, because if this man gives you access to his apartment, you have to exercise better judgment about who you permit into the apartment. Now, you're suing him for $4,000, Mr. Thomas. No way. No way. And I do believe that you did, in fact, hit him before he hit you. I also believe, however, that Mr. Thomas, sir, overreacted in the situation by not leaving the apartment once you saw that he was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you're both a little bit wrong.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, it says here that you had a little bit of a knot on your head, right?
Yes, ma'am. That's what it says.
That's what it says. So I have some other questions for you. Are you employed, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Who do you work for?
I'm a government painter.
A what?
A government painter.
So you work full-time for the government or part-time?
Full-time.
Did you miss any work?
Just
over here, sir.
Just the days that I had to go, and I consulted an attorney, and I also went to the doctor.
It's not what I'm asking you, sir. After this incident,
Yes,
not the
I
days
did.
you took off to go to see a lawyer, or not the days that you took off after you consulted with a lawyer to go to a doctor. Because that's about what happened, right? First you went to see a lawyer, and then the lawyer sent you to a doctor, correct?
That's correct.
See how smart I am? See, if you're really hurt, you go to the doctor before you go to the lawyer. That's what happens when you're really hurt.
Okay.
When you're not really hurt, first you go to the lawyer, and then the lawyer sends you to a doctor.
May I say something, please?
Sounds right to me.
So, Mr. Castleberry, I am awarding you damages, sir, in the amount of $1. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
This guy straight up lied, and he knows he's lying. So, that's with him and God. If I would have hit him first, I would have hurt him. Okay, he would have had he would have had some sort of, report from a doctor or some sort of injury. You see what I'm saying?
For Ron Rice ruined her 25th wedding anniversary because he was unprofessional, danced with the guests, and took bad pictures.
Order. All rise. This is case number 355 on the calendar. Matter of Walters versus Rice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're the photographer.
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Mrs. Walters, you hired the defendant because you and your husband were celebrating your 25th wedding anniversary.
Yes, that's right.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
What kind of party were you having?
We rented the Marina Hornblower yacht, and we were having a celebration cruise for our family and our friends.
How many people?
60.
How did you find him?
Through an ad in the newspaper in the Daily Breeze, right here, under wedding photography.
Okay, can I see it? So you hired him? Tell me about the agreement that you made with him.
I searched for a photographer, and then I saw that ad, and I said, well, let me go check this guy's work out, because I wanted special double effects and photography. And when I went to his home to look at his work, it was exceptional. I mean, it was knocked down. It was just so great work. This work was really good. And so without a doubt, I wrote him a check, and I hired him.
Was it a deposit, or was it?
I gave him a $200 deposit, and 2 weeks later, I paid him the rest in full in advance, before the wedding.
What was the whole price for the
$752.33, my contract.
And that was to include what?
That was to include him to come to my home 2.5 hours before the wedding to take pictures of my husband and my family and I, so we wouldn't waste time on the yacht. And that was to include a bridal album with 8x10.
So, now tell me why you're suing him.
Because the pictures that he showed me of our 25th wedding anniversary were horrible. I cried. I was devastated. I mean, these pictures were horrible. My friends took pictures with their regular cameras. Look at my pictures that they took with their regular cameras compared to the professional pictures that he took. I mean, it was horrible.
I will look at both.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
Well, you indicate in your complaint that his behavior at this function was somewhat less than professional.
Oh.
You want to tell me what you're complaining of?
He followed my sister all day.
I did.
and said all kinds of. I have it on video. I have the video right here. You can see it. I have him dancing, doing the Macarena, eating with my guests. Not taking pictures. He poured a beer over the top of her head, made her dress see-through. I have it on video.
I would really like to see that.
I wish I was there too.
May I show you who he is on the video?
Yeah, just let.
I wear many hats, Your Honor. Photographer, comedian, dancer, pouring beer.
I hired you to be a photographer, not to be.
Listen to me. Don't answer him. I don't even think he himself was serious when he made that comment to me. Were you, sir?
Here he is, Your Honor.
You're right, Your Honor.
Here he is doing the Macarena right there. I have notes, there he is doing the Macarena there in your courtroom. Okay.
It moves me.
There he is.
Needs a little work. I want to see the beer pouring.
Other than this Macarena, is there anything else on this tape?
It just shows Leona having the beer on her head. It didn't show him actually doing it, but you could hear him.
Well, let me see. How much into the tape is that?
It's a little bit farther.
Would you speed it up, please, third? Mr. Rice.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why did you pour beer over this lady?
Well, I haven't seen that part yet, Your Honor. I don't believe I did.
Yes, you did. I mean, here are my
Miss Walters.
Sure.
Don't talk to him. I'm talking to him now.
Absolutely sure.
She's going to tell me, this lady, if I ask her to stand up, which I will. Yeah. Stand up now.
Stand up.
You're her sister?
Yes.
Did he pour beer on you at this function?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
I was dancing, and he says, you need to be cooled off, and he threw the beer on top of my head. And I had a satin dress on, and it clinged to me, and it was see-through, and I was really, really embarrassed.
Okay, sit down. Mr. Rice.
It sounds like a fun thing to do under circumstances, but I was hired in a professional position and a capacity, and that's exactly what I did. I have on the...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
I've made 4 or 5 weddings in my time. Hired a lot of photographers for other kinds of functions. Mm-hmm. I never had a photographer dancing with my guests. I never had a photographer coming and eating with my guests. I never had a photographer pouring anything over one of my guests. Otherwise, that photographer would have been brought out of the function in a box.
Yes, I agree.
Now, you did that. You were dancing with the guests, no jacket on, and, sir, I didn't see you with a camera slung around your shoulder.
This was after, this was
Yes.
after all the ceremonial events were done, because the wedding was during the day.
I heard you for the whole time.
Do I look like I need help?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And so I was finished.
Just a second. What do you mean you were finished?
I was finished with all the ceremonial events. They were partying, and they were partiers.
How many rolls of film did you take, sir?
Approximately 250.
How many rolls?
No way.
Four 220 medium format.
How many
and
rolls of film?
2 rolls of 12 exposure, which was 24 prints, and then 4 at 24.
So altogether, you had how many pictures?
4 times 24 times 20. Me and my math. Probably 150, approximately.
96 and 24 is 120. Okay. So you had 120 pictures. Let me see them.
The irony of this thing.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
That's 99% of the profession, is being able to mesh and flow and get into the party mood.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dorothy Walters is suing photographer Ron Rice for taking bad pictures and being unprofessional at her 25th wedding anniversary. He says the pictures are good and that he was just enjoying himself.
120 pictures. Let me see them.
The irony of this thing is I saw her, she didn't want, I was supposed to give her the 5x5
Just
proofs.
a second.
She didn't even want them.
Listen to me.
I mean,
You
hello?
Mr. Rice to me.
Miss Walters.
Okay, he wouldn't.
Miss Walters. Where are the 120
In
prints?
the trash.
Okay, who put them in the trash?
2 weeks ago, before she served me the notice, I said, look, here's Barbara's.
I'm Dorothy.
Dorothy.
Just a second.
Whomever. Dorothy, I'm sorry.
So the answer is you don't have them. You threw them away.
I have the negatives.
Just a second.
I was going to.
You have the negatives of 120 pictures?
Oh,
Let me have them.
Oh, right. All right, yes, sir. Shall I?
Oh, don't come too close to me, Mr. Rice.
And here's Your Honor, would you want to show me?
Just a minute. What's the difference between these and these, sir?
Print quality and definition. One's 2 1/4 format. Those are 35 millimeter format. The other one is 6 by 6 millimeter. Those are table shots. So you want to do a wedding, all the ceremonial events, all the romantics, anything that has to do with, the principles of the wedding party are shot in with the 2 1/4. The format.
And this is 2 1/4?
No, that's 35 millimeter. That's where table shots, guest shots.
There are no table shots here, sir.
Maybe, can I see them?
No.
Okay.
And all these negatives are the negatives, right?
Those are the negatives of, yes.
Bert, would you count up these?
Sure.
These negatives?
No problem.
Thank you. I just want to know how many there are, because she says that
Make sure there
limited
are
number
too.
of rolls. Now let me take a look at the pictures.
Okay, Bert. These are the ones he took. Here's the identical pictures that the guests took.
With the polarizer.
No, this is with
who's the professional here?
Hey,
who's the professional? Look at those papers.
One, two, three, and then you're both out of here. Do you understand? And if you're out of here, you lose. Do you understand? Now, these are the ones your guests took.
Yes.
And these are the ones that you're complaining about that he took.
Yes.
Are these the only pictures that you were given by him?
No, I was given another book.
Where is it? Where are the...
You have it. You wouldn't give it to me.
Where are the
What words didn't you both understand? Don't talk to each other. I don't like to have to raise my voice. I want to see the photographs that he took at your house. Do you have those?
No.
You didn't bring...
Don't speak.
Your Honor, he took them. He would not give them back to me because I said these are unacceptable. And he took them. He wouldn't give them back to me.
Just a second. So are you telling me that these are
That's
the only
pictures I have.
Can I finish my question?
I'm sorry.
Are these the only pictures that you have of your wedding anniversary party?
Took, yes.
That he took?
Yes, they are.
She just perjured herself.
You just threw the book away. He threw the book away. That's what he told you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Show me, sir, what you say she has in addition to these.
She has 34 8x10s that she ordered from the prince.
Show me the order with her signature on it.
Right here?
Good. Can I see it, please?
she got her plan. I mean, it's a very flexible plan. She got plan 3.
Sir.
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Stop talking. This is the contract. This is not her order.
Absolutely right.
Show.
I'm sorry.
Don't say you're sorry. Just be quiet. Okay. This is not an order. This is the contract. I have the original. This is your copy.
What's in that package there? Is there some, like a price list or anything in there like that, other than just the negatives?
How many were there?
70, Judge.
Okay. Now listen to me, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Listen carefully. There are 70 negatives here. 70. You wouldn't dispute that with Bird, would you?
Oh,
no.
Bird.
Now.
Not Bird.
This is.
It's probably a 36 roll, Your Honor. But.
So altogether, you took 106 pictures, not 150.
Well, actually, with the 70 pictures, it was more than enough because what she had ordered was just those professionally looking beautiful few, if I may add.
Mr. Rice, I asked you a question, and you will not deflect me with your palaver. Where is her order for these 8x10s that you just told me about?
What? I mean, they're right there. They're right on those MAC cards.
Well, show me her signature on those things,
No, there's
sir.
no signature. The
Show
contract.
Officer Bird. Give him the whole envelope, Bird, please.
Help. Okay. There was no album. She ordered $252 worth tax. I mean, she ordered. Where are the 10x10s?
You have them.
Where are they? I mean, you have them.
All
Where
right,
are
now,
they?
let me tell you what happens when you don't listen 4 times. 4 times you don't listen.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
It's wearing hats, not just being a professional, being stuffy.
Oh my God.
You have to have personality. You have to go in with a smile.
And later today,
If I give you $200, you have to give me the camcorder back. No, I don't have to. It's mine. It's mine. It belongs to me. You're full of it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dorothy Walters wants the money back she paid photographer Ron Rice because she says the pictures were unprofessional.
Mr. Rice,
yes,
I find that based upon what I've seen in the photographs, what I've heard today, that your conduct on the day of this anniversary party was less than professional and certainly less than what Miss Walters bargained for when she retained you. So, you're going to refund to her $752.33 because of you, she doesn't have what she bargained for, which was a professional photographer who behaved in a professional manner, who furnished her professional pictures. And in addition, since you told me that the proofs that you gave her, you took and threw in the garbage, which means that you certainly didn't want them, Miss Walters, I'm giving you all the negatives.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's
thank
all.
you.
They're no good anyway.
They're no good. You said they were professional photographers.
You don't want them.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You said they were good.
Parties are excused. You may
Here, I'll
step
throw me the
out.
They're no
trash.
good.
Step out
Yeah,
the
they're
back
no
door to your
good.
right.
It's wearing hats, not just being a professional, being
Oh,
stuffy.
my God.
You have to have personality. You have to go in with a smile.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
that's 99% of the profession is being able to mesh and flow and get into the party mood. Give me a kiss.
ruined-
Give me a hug. Come on.
He's nuts.
I give him a
He's
hug.
nuts.
Whoa.
He's nuts.
Well, I mean, it's like I was born that way. What's your excuse?
And now the next case.
Parties on Hill versus Mathis. Step forward, please.
32-year-old Robin Hill is suing her former sister-in-law, Teresa Mathis, age 36, because she won't return her video camera.
Do I understand this correctly, that you two ladies are sister-in-laws or in some way related? Still sister-in-laws?
I'm unsure of it. They got divorced. I don't know.
You divorced?
Right.
From her brother?
Yes.
So you're former sister-in-laws?
Correct.
And let me understand this. You needed $200 for some sort of move a couple of years ago.
Right.
You asked your sister-in-law, who I assume was then still married to your brother,
Correct.
for the $200. According to you, she lent you the $200, and you gave her your camcorder.
Correct.
As sort of insurance for the repayment of this loan.
Right.
Now you're suing her because you say you went back and retrieved the camcorder and it's broken.
Right.
And the camcorder, you paid how much for?
It was on sale. We paid roughly $900.
So you're suing her for $500.
Which would be about replacement cost of it.
And you say nothing could be farther from the truth.
No.
That you bought the camcorder.
I purchased the camera because she was going to Oklahoma for $200, and I told her that if she got the money back, as
as soon as she got it, that I would sell it back to her if she wanted. And
for the $200.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. How did you get the camcorder back?
She asked me to house sit for her while they were in Oklahoma with bicycle races for their son, and a friend of mine had asked me to film some stuff.
How long ago was this?
This was November of last year.
So November of last year, when you were house sitting, you got your camcorder back.
Well, I went to borrow it to use it to film some stuff, and it didn't work. So I went to put it in a shop. They had a fit and told me, though, they wanted to get it fixed. I said, fine. So I gave it back to them to get it fixed. And I was more than willing to give them their money back. And if it was my fault that it was broke, then I would have paid for it. But it was working when they got it, and I don't think that I should have to pay for it to be fixed.
Did you give her back the $200?
I've offered it to her.
Just a second.
No.
Did you give her back the $200?
She refused it.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
It's not true.
That is true.
When I asked for the money, she didn't have it. She never had the money. The only reason she came to my house and took the camera while we were gone out of my closet was because she needed money and she wanted to sell it, and then had planned to pay me after she sold the camera. When I purchased the camera, it was working, just not properly. You can see by the film that I brought that it has lines in it. And that was in April of '95 at a national that we went to, my son's bike races.
Whatever, so you went and you had it fixed?
When I got the money, because I was single, my ex-husband and I were divorced, I have 3 children and a large house payment, so when I did get the money, which was in March, I said, this is terrible, you know, I have this camera, I can't even use it, it doesn't work right, so I took it down. Her aunt was with me also at the races when I purchased the camera, and it kept shutting off. She was standing beside me, and we were taping our children.
All right, if you don't have to go into a whole long thing, it's not a very difficult case.
Okay.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Ms. Hill,
yes.
If I believe your story, she lent you $200, you gave her the camera until you paid her back the $200.
Correct.
You never paid her back the $200. Where's the camera now?
She still has the camera.
I've never lost the camera.
Perfect.
I still have it.
Camera's yours.
Right.
When she gives you back the $200, you just listen to me.
Okay.
When she gives you back the $200, you give her back the camera. Right now, you didn't give her back the $200, so the camera's hers. That's very simple.
I understand that, Your Honor.
Good. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I got notarized statement saying it was working.
It worked, but it didn't work right.
That's not my fault.
Well, it's not my fault. You hauled it in your car all the way to Oklahoma since 1991, all over the place. That's what happened.
Well, that's not my fault. If I give you $200, you have to give me the camcorder back.
No, I don't have to. It's mine. It's mine. It belongs to me.
You're full of it.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is number 91 on the calendar in the matter of Sherman versus Hollins.
Sir.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Those belong to your boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Sherman, I've read your complaint. You are suing the defendant for $5,000 for discrimination, stress, mental anguish, because he won't let your 2 sons play in his football league. Right?
That is correct. My 2 sons and my daughter, who's a cheerleader, and my niece.
Well, let's not talk about your niece. I'm not interested in your niece.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about your daughter who's a cheerleader. That's not part of your lawsuit.
Yes.
Let's talk about your 2 sons. You believe that it is actionable, which means that you have a cause of action against this man for the things that I've just outlined, because he, and I believe you run this football league,
That's correct. I founded it.
won't let your boys play.
Exactly.
Why won't he let your boys play? Do you know?
Well, Mr. Hollins seemed to have a personal vendetta against me for an incident that happened earlier before the season actually got started.
What was the incident?
Well, the incident happened where I was the uniform coordinator.
Uniform coordinator for the team?
For the organization.
Okay.
Okay. I coordinated the accessories and things for the football players, the team moms, the team managers, the coordinators, and everyone involved.
So you were in charge of uniform accessories?
Exactly.
Correct?
Yes.
All right. So what happened?
The incident happened where I ordered gold socks to accommodate the colors or whatever in the uniforms, and Mr. Hollins wanted blue socks. And the incident just got blown out of proportion. He, just really, never let me live it down, and he's just been
so
real
you ordered
hard
color
on me.
socks that he didn't. Just a minute. I understand this. You ordered a color socks that he didn't like. You had an argument about that.
A big argument.
And after that, what happened?
After that, everything I have done for the organization, he has just, looked down upon me. He's criticized me. He's just, nothing I can do for the organization is to his liking, everything,
And your boys had played in the league before, in his league before?
This was the start of this organization.
I know, but did they play for a season with his group?
Yes. This was their first year.
And they did play?
Yes.
So your complaint is that they weren't invited back for year 2?
Exactly.
You want to say something to me?
Yes. That incident that she described was only one of many incidents. The incident that actually brought the last blow was at a meeting on February 28th of '97. We're supposed to have been just a general business meeting, and Mrs. Sherman became unhappy with the agenda and stormed out. So when the board met and discussed the year of events from August, from the incident with the socks, there was an incident on, I believe that was Wednesday, September 3rd, after a high school game. She had verbal confrontation with our cheer coordinator, which she was kicking the lady's vehicle, slamming her door, and this was done in front of several of the high school faculty. And it was
what was that incident about?
It was about a list of names that she was demanding from our cheer coordinator that she did not feel that was produced in a timely manner.
I didn't demand anything, and I'm sure if I was kicking and doing this to this lady's car, in which it was a brand new car, I'm sure I'd be in court right now with her for a
So
lawsuit.
what you're saying is
I did not do that to the lady.
You didn't assault her car?
No, I did not. We had verbal words.
Well, I'm beginning to get the gist of this. So your board decided that they didn't want her to be the uniform coordinator anymore.
Well, just not uniform coordinator, just through her conduct and her actions throughout the entire course of the year, which I have here the flow chart for the organization, even with the incident that involved myself and Mrs. Sherman.
Over the socks?
Yes, it was it was really an ugly event, and there were several other events. As her acting as the uniform coordinator, there were numerous.
Listen, Mr. Hollins, you have a right to say, if you have a board,
yes,
I don't want this person involved. All I asked you was, did your board decide that they didn't want Miss Sherman to be the uniform coordinator anymore?
And to not invite her back, yes.
And not invite her back in what capacity?
Any involvement, and it was basically not wanting her to even return to the organization simply because of her conduct.
Okay. Now, what did that have to do with her boys?
Well, the boys are in her family. It wasn't that we were banishing the boys, but it was just that we preferred that she did not return with her family because of her conduct. And it was brought to our attention, well, do you think it's possible that she can come and just participate, and support her children? And we said, well, yeah, but it's a concern with the other parents, other board members, that her having nothing to do would just give her more ample time to just be more of a disturbance.
Well, Mrs. Sherman, your problem, madam, is that you have to have a legally actionable case. Mr. Hollins is not legally obligated to accept any boy or girl on his team. I'm sure that a lot of people try out for the team that aren't accepted. Is that right?
That's correct.
Exactly, but what he is doing is trying to keep my children from participating in his program because he doesn't personally like me.
So what? But Mrs. Sherman, that may sound unfair to your children, but let us assume
it's
the following.
It's unfair, period, in life.
It's unfair in life.
It's discrimination.
If he auditions, what do? You audition people for your team?
Tryouts.
Tryouts. Let's say he has tryouts for his football league, and 50 kids come and try out, and he only accepts...
It's 33 per team.
33 kids.
Exactly.
You're going to have 17, right?
That's right, 17.
17 children who are going to be disappointed. If I permitted your lawsuit, madam, that would mean that the families of those 17 kids who were not asked or invited onto the team could have a cause of action for discrimination, mental stress on themselves, mental stress on their children. Nobody would be involved with coaching a team anymore. Nobody would be involved in starting a team.
This isn't the case.
That's not the case.
This is not the case.
Of course it's the case.
It's not. They didn't even get an opportunity.
Listen to me. They don't have to be given an opportunity.
They do, according to the bylaws of King Conference.
Yeah, he doesn't own this organization. This is a public organization.
Just a second. This isn't a public organization.
It is It's a public
Just
organization.
a second. Just a second.
That's just like saying a black person couldn't go to a white summit.
Please, Mr. Sherman, don't bring black and white into this. That's absolutely ridiculous. How many children in this league are black?
Almost the entire
So then stop talking discrimination. It has nothing to do with discrimination.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He has an ego problem, a control problem, and he just does not take constructive criticism from a woman well.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Football Junior League Director Lester Hollins says he had to ban Beverly Sherman and her son from the league because she was too much to deal with.
It has to do, Mr. Sherman, with the fact that he had an altercation with you, and according to him, the board decided that they didn't want you to be involved anymore.
That's fine.
That's fine. And they would prefer, for the sake of all the other children, not to have you involved because, according to him, and I'll let him go on and tell me what the incidents were that he says. We had one incident where he says that you kicked the car. You had another incident where you had a verbal altercation with him. I mean, I feel sorry for your boys, but you have to understand that not every wrong is legally actionable. Not every wrong results in coming to a court. Sometimes if something like this happens, you have to say to your boys, which you did according to your papers, listen guys, there is another football league, and you have to be involved with that one because I don't get along with Hollins, I don't get along with this whole organization. There is another place for your boys to play football.
So why do they have to be made to go somewhere else when they haven't done anything?
Life's tough.
I haven't done anything.
Listen to me.
Sure.
You're not following me. I said it's sad. I said it's unfortunate. I said it's probably unfair to the boys that they can't play. All of those things. What I'm saying to you is it is not legally actionable. Because if it was legally actionable for you, that it would be legally actionable, courts would have to open their doors to the other 17 boys who tried out for that team and who for one reason or another were rejected. And it may have been unfair. He may not have liked them because they were too tall, too short, too fat, too thin. He needed a tall one. This was a short one. Whatever reason. He wanted this cheerleader because she was prettier than that cheerleader. He wanted this cheerleader because she was taller than that cheerleader. If I allowed your kind of lawsuit, our courts would be flooded with this kind of case. And we can't have that because not every wrong is subject to a legal redress. It's as simple as that. It's sad. But your boys can play football. They weren't discriminated against because of their race, because of their ethnicity, because of anything else. They were discriminated against, if you can use that term, because he didn't want to look at you during the course of the season.
Not a problem, because I don't want to look at him either.
He didn't want to.
So you're saying that he can make people come and go in this organization as he chooses.
That's absolutely right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
tell them about that you was a prostitute and how you was a good actress because you had to fake for your tricks. You had to fake for your
she only steals from rich people and whores.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Football Junior League Director Lester Hollins says he had to ban Beverly Sherman and her sons from the league because she was too much to deal with.
You don't seem to understand. It's sad, but I'm going to say it one more time. Every disappointment does not result in a lawsuit for stress, right? Your boys have the opportunity to play at another football league where not only they will be welcome, but hopefully the two of you will be welcome. Welcome to participate, welcome to get involved. I would suggest that you use your energies towards more productive things rather than negative things. They are not welcome because you, madam, are not welcome. And the fact that you are fighting here in court about this instead of moving on and getting your boys involved in another football league where you and your boys and your son will all be welcome is a big mistake.
We've already done that.
Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties execution. May step out. I'll be back with you, right?
The children suffer because of the parent behavior.
He can't even come out the courtroom
and tell the behavior of the parents.
I mean, that's
why, we just do not permit the family itself.
Parties on Humphreys versus Stewart. Step forward, please.
Company manager Ernestine Humphreys claims her niece, 33-year-old Yolanda Stewart, stole $1,000 of her company's cash.
Ms. Humphreys, the defendant is your niece.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your complaint, you are accusing your niece of stealing $1,000 of business money.
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Well, tell me why you think she took this money and how.
I represent a company in Detroit, and I am responsible for making the deposits, weekly deposits. On Tuesday, May the 6th, I was in my office. I had balanced the manager's sheet, counted the money, and I had $7,200 on my desk. My
in
niece,
cash?
Yes, in cash. Already wrapped and counted.
What kind of business is this?
Coin laundries.
A coin laundry, so they collect all the money and then you make a deposit of cash?
Exactly.
Okay.
So there was a knock on the door, and the employee was in the bathroom, so I opened the door. It was my niece. She works down at the next light, and I thought she just saw my car and came by to say hi and whatever. During the time that she was there, I turned and walked away to use the telephone, and when I came back, she suddenly was in a hurry to go. And a couple of days later, the corporate headquarters in Toledo informed me that my bag was missing a roll of tens, 100 tens, which was $1,000. And they didn't understand why this happened. They wanted to know if I had someone helping me count the money, because all of the years that I've worked for this company, that has never, ever happened.
Well, how many people touch this money after you count it and prepare a deposit?
I give it to the owner's son, David, and he takes it and gives it to his father, the owner of the company, and he makes the deposit.
So at least 2 other people touch that bag before it gets to a bank.
Right, but the owner has 26 stores. He's a multimillionaire, and his son is very wealthy. I don't think they need $1,000.
Did you take this money?
No. And second of all, she did not walk away and use the phone. She asked me to walk away and call my sister to see what time my sister and her daughter were coming to Detroit. We both walked to the phone, which I did that, and my sister was not there. We left a message on her machine. And then I said, well, I have to go. I was at work. I seen her car like I always do. I stopped in to say, hey, how you doing? We both talked. The money was on the table. And I talked to her briefly, and then I said, well, I got to get back to the store. I left nobody in charge. I said, I'm going down to Highland Park, and then I'm going back to my store. She said, oh, thanks for coming and all that. She walked me out to my car. I don't know, she came out the second door, and she watched me as I got in my car, and she was talking to me. And this right here is what I had on. I had no jacket. I had no purse, nowhere where I could have stuck $1,000. The day before that, she told me she needed some money. I said, well, I don't have any money. She told me that the day before. And also the day before, I helped her count this money. She paid me $50 out the money for helping her count it, which it wasn't my first time helping her count the money at all. And then after that, she said, she came to me about a few days later. She said, I went to the meeting in Toledo. She was nervous. She came up to my job. She said, they said I'm missing a bundle of tens. And she said, from the house. I said, well, it couldn't have been missing from your house. When I stopped at your laundromat, I said, you were just now writing it on the sheet. She said, oh, you're right. And then after that, that's when I heard it happened at the laundromat, which she never left me, in which her office has a lock on it. So why would she ever say, she could have just asked me to step out and let the door lock.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Let me tell you this.
Yes, Your Honor.
You really do not have any proof that Miss Stewart took this money.
No, it's just circumstantial.
And you understand that it's really unfair for any court to convict someone. And in effect, I would be convicting her of being a thief if I were to grant you this $1,000 judgment that you're after.
I understand.
Especially since there were other people who had their hands on that money. I just think it's so sad that you had had a lovely relationship, according to your papers, before this happened, and that you make this accusation without any real proof to back it up.
Your Honor, she was the only one in the office that day while the money was on the desk.
Money. And you needed money.
Well, shh.
Order. I did not.
No, don't talk.
I did not need any money.
Listen to me.
No, I did
Listen to me. You may have needed money.
No, I did not.
She may have needed money. Bottom line is, in a court, you have to deal with proof. Mm-hmm. And there were other people who touched that money after you counted it, prepared a deposit, and gave it to the owner's son. You don't know who the owner's son gave it to. He may have let somebody else.
He gave it to his father.
Well, but you don't know that. Hey, do I look like I need help?
Okay, I'm just helping you out.
You don't know that. It may have gone from his hand to 2 or 3 other people's before it ended up in the bank. So I cannot award you the judgment that you're requesting. I just, again, find it very sad that 2 people who had been very close to each other, clearly, are now not. I think maybe you should apologize to her for letting this thing go this far. Anyway, this case is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties excused. You may step out.
And on the next Judge Judy.
God is the final judge, and he sits high and looks low, and he saw what she did, and she knows what she did, and she will be judged for it in a higher court.
Tell them about the robbery that you staged in Cleveland. Tell them that. Tell them about that you was a prostitute and how you was a good actress because you had to fake for your tricks. You had to fake for your
she only steals from rich people and whores.
Okay, well you was the
She
whore.
could be very dangerous.
I give less than a hell about her. From now on, I don't know her.
The only way that she can ever get a man is by buying men. She used it and gave it to her modern-day pimp man.
That's why it went on like it did, because I prayed to God to let the truth be told. So it
hasn't been told.
It happened. It happened. And she's right. God's the final witness. He's the final witness. He probably strike her down dead tomorrow.
Hill ran out with his money and son.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judge, number 86 on the calendar in the matter of Summers versus Hill. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You folks lived together for 11 years, or were together for 11 years and have a 5-year-old child.
Right.
Not married.
Right.
According to your complaint, sir, the defendant left you, and when she left you, she took $1,300 out of a business bank account.
Right.
You want your $1,300 back.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a few questions for you.
Sure.
During the 11 years that you were together, did you work?
All the time.
What kind of work did you do?
I've done printing, working in car wash, cashiering in a drugstore. Right now I'm currently in payroll and billing at a temporary service.
When you left, we'll get to that event in a moment, but when you left, what monies did you have after 11 years?
You mean as far as savings?
Yes.
Nothing.
What about property?
The only thing I had that was in my name that he's already taken was a car.
So this $1,300 was what you left with after 11 years?
Yes. And that and my son.
Now, Mr. Summers, I find some of the things that you say interesting. First of all, you were in business together.
No.
Well, you were in business.
Right.
What kind of business, sir?
Automotive air conditioning.
And what did you do in the business?
Service and repair automobiles, the air conditioning.
Did you have a shop?
No, I'm mobile.
What do you mean you're mobile?
I do it out of the back of a truck.
How long have you been doing it, sir?
4 years.
The business was in her name.
Yes.
Why?
2 reasons. One, I thought that it needed to be because of Social Security, because I also have an incurable spinal disease that leaves me on the sedentary rule for work. The sedentary rule for work. Anyway, I was given Social Security.
Just a second. You lost me someplace. You received Social Security disability.
Right.
Social Security disability means that you are disabled and cannot work.
Not under the sedentary rule.
Well, tell me what this rule is, because as a taxpayer, I would like to see what I could do to get it changed.
Okay, sure. Sure. It means that any repetitious, anything that is done for any certain period of time, no longer than 15 minutes, I didn't make the rules. I just go along with it.
And how long have you been on disability?
8 years.
And you've been doing this work running around in your truck, fixing cars for 4 years.
Right, right.
So what you're telling me is, sir, that the reason you put the business in her name is because you were afraid that if the business was in your name, your disability would stop.
No.
Well, then,
no, that's not true. I have a 5.5-year-old son, Your Honor, that I wanted to be able to provide for in case anything happened to me. That's the God's truth. That's why I put it.
You're lucky that a lightning bolt didn't come right down.
Well, let it strike me. That is the reason why. That is the reason why.
That's a lot of baloney.
Well,
that's a lot of baloney.
Okay.
The baloney part is that when you're receiving disability, disability means that one is unemployable.
And if you opened up a business and if you were told the Social Security Administration 4 years ago that you were now involved in doing work that was not repetitious because you were going someplace else, they would have stopped your disability.
No, ma'am, they have not, and I have. And I have. I'm allowed to have anything as long as it's not over $2,000 in my account.
I see that you got the system down to a science. How much, by the way, how much do the taxpayers give you every month from disability?
$650.
Pocket money. Nice. All right. Now, you also bought a house.
Yes.
Sir, while you were together. Is that right?
Yeah.
And according to your papers, you put the house in your name.
No, my father actually bought the house.
What do you mean your father bought the house?
My father bought the home so that I would have a home for my son to grow up in. I'm paying the mortgage payment.
You're making the payments?
Yes, I make
So
the
the house is in your father's name?
Yes.
Interesting. Got this really worked out. And what did you do with your money, Miss Hill, when the money that you earned?
It went towards groceries and bills.
Did you have a joint account?
Yes, we did.
But the house, you knew, was in his father's name?
I knew that it was always in his father's name. But I just recently found out after we split up that it is also in his name. Not my name, but his and his dad's.
You're telling me that it's in joint names with his father?
That's what I was told.
Is that true, sir?
No, the insurance is.
What do you mean the insurance is?
Well, because I live in the home, it was good to put me on the insurance in case anything happened to the home.
But not her. So you got a house, and you have a business, and she's got $1,300, period. What else did she leave this 11-year relationship with, sir?
My son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was hurt. I was very hurt.
Yeah, that's why she took the money. It hurt so bad she had to get compensation.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Hill admits she ran out on auto mechanic Gary Summers and took his son, but claims she had to leave because of Gary's controlling behavior.
You say in your answer to his complaint that you found certain papers before you left in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Would you like to tell me, please, what papers you found before you left with your son?
Gary had already started proceedings to get custody of my son, and I didn't know.
How did you find those papers, and where did you find them?
I found them in his work clipboard. One day I was looking through it, I don't remember for what, but I found the papers in there underneath some invoices.
And what were the papers for? What did they say?
He was filling out the papers already to take me to court to get custody of my son from me.
When had you begun to fill out those papers, Mr. Summers?
Around the end of March.
And when did you leave, Miss Hill?
April 20th, and I found those papers in the beginning of March.
Had you ever gone to court seeking custody before you found those papers?
Never, not until March 7th, and March 6th, excuse me.
March or April?
I'm sorry, April.
Had you already left the house?
No, I did not leave until April 20th, and that was the day before our hearing.
And at the hearing, who was awarded primary custody of the child?
Well, that first day that we went to court, he was ordered to go and be drug tested. And after we went to court again, on May 14th, we were both awarded joint custody with my residence being the primary.
What was the result of the drug test?
Positive.
For?
Marijuana.
Mr. Summers, you lived with Miss Hill for 11 years.
Yes, ma'am.
They do not have anything in this jurisdiction and in most other states about community property for people who aren't married. If they did, she'd be entitled to a lot more than $1,300.
Ma'am, I earned that money. She got all of her money that she...
What do you mean she got all of her money?
Well, whatever she earned, she took. The other account she took out of there. The savings she took out of there.
Just a second. Did you take out any other money, Miss Hill?
Yes, I did.
What other money did you take out?
I took out $200 from our personal account.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
What other money did you take out?
I took out the $1,300 out of the business account.
And the savings.
What
Golden One savings.
Just a second. I have $200 that you took out.
$200 out of the personal and $1,300 out of the business.
And you said something about savings account.
Credit union savings account was in my name.
And mine.
How much money was in the credit union?
$25.
The whole thing. I'm talking about the whole business.
There was about $25. That's all there was when I cleaned it out.
Okay.
It was only $25. The most we ever had in there was probably about $600, and that went little by little for bills or whatever.
And how much do you think was in there, Mr. Summers?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know because it was gone before I got to it, before I checked on it. But I don't believe that it was just $25.
Think it was maybe $200?
Well, maybe at the most. It wasn't a large sum of money, no.
So, at the most, you say maybe it was $200. So what Miss Hill left with was $1,700, right?
She's ready to rule.
I better watch out for my son because my son needed to live in a better home.
And later today,
And they call my son a white supremacist because he's sitting on a phone booth threatening my son, and my son just reaches up and grabs him by the arm and pulls him down.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
So after an 11-year relationship, she left with $1,700. So, and the business was in her name. She can take whatever she wants out of the business. You put it in...
Even though she didn't earn it. Even though I went out and I'm the one that deposited that money. She never deposited that money. Had it been in my name, then it would have been okay because we lived together.
What I'm telling you is you had an 11-year relationship, sir, and if you expect this woman, after she finds out that you, behind her back, are seeking to take custody away from her, of her child, without discussing it with her, which is exactly what happened. Oh, exactly what happened.
No, ma'am, because I could have done it and I never did. And I wasn't about to, and I have a doctor.
So what'd you do?
I have a doctor that I see quite frequently, okay, for counseling. I asked him to please set up somebody so that we could stay together. I tried to keep us together. I did that. I didn't want any split up. I never did want to split up. When she became very adamant on the fact that she couldn't live with me, then I thought I better watch out for my son because my son needed to live in a better home.
Okay. Well, the court has already made a determination about where your son is going to live. He's going
No,
to live.
he hasn't. No, they haven't, Your Honor. That is not true.
They haven't. They haven't. That's not.
That is not
before
true.
me. According to you, the court made at least an initial determination that primary custody was
Right,
with
but
you.
I've been served with papers again because he's taken me back to court to sue me again for custody.
I'm not suing anybody. I'm doing what you're supposed to do in family law. I'm giving my response to the last hearing.
Good. Well, I'm giving my response to you, Mr. Summers. I'm dismissing your lawsuit. That's all.
Body's action.
Okay.
I took the money, Gary, and I had to get
What did you do
compensation,
with
but you have
What
not
did you do
paid
with money?
anything,
What did
have
you do with money? What did you do with money?
I got the receipts right in here to show you. You can see them.
What'd you do
They
with
went
it,
towards
Robbie?
your son's
I'm
child
asking-
care.
Oh, Veronica, please.
He won't let it go. I know he won't.
Well, of course I won't. I want my son.
Party's on Arriaga Salazar versus Padilla Rogers. Step forward, please.
14-year-old Daniel Salazar says his one-time school friend Andrew Padilla badly injured him when he pulled him off a phone booth.
Daniel, that's you and you're Andrew?
Yes.
You're his mother?
Yeah, Daniel's mother.
Why don't you have a seat? And you're Andrew's mother?
Yes.
Till I need you, why don't you have a seat? Because this really is a matter between the two boys until we come to the money. Then you're involved. You say that this young man injured you.
Yes.
You want him to pay for your medical bills.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me about it? Tell me what happened.
Well, it was like after spring vacation, and I came to school.
Speak up, please, so I can hear you.
I came to school, and some kids were saying that if I wanted to fight him, because supposedly everyone said I was mad at him, which wasn't true. So like this went on for 3 days. Like on the third day, I went up to him and I told him that if he had a problem, because I didn't. And then he said, all right, we didn't have a problem. Then on the fourth day, two of my friends, we were walking to a store because they gave us a ride there.
You were walking to a store. You ended up on top of a phone booth, according to your statement.
Yes.
What were you doing sitting on top of a
We
phone
were waiting
booth?
for my friend's mom.
To pick you up from someplace?
Yes.
So you're sitting on top of the phone booth, and what happened?
I had my hands in my pocket and I saw Andrew coming, and he like made a phone call. While he was making the phone call, when he hanged up, he pulled my arm. I fell to the ground, and that's all I remember.
Then you passed out?
Yes.
What kind of injuries did you have?
I had some scratches on my face, my leg. It was messed up for a little while, and I just had X-rays. I had X-rays on my head.
What is the total amount of your medical bills?
I'm not sure.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Who are you?
I'm a friend of the family. I live with him. I'm like his aunt. I've been living with his mom, and I'm there when the kids get home from school.
I'd like to see the medical bills, please.
What I originally put in the paperwork was $1,900, but those were the bills that we had gotten at that point. They're now up to $2,500, and I think $2,580 is what it is now.
Andrew!
Yes.
You said this was all an accident, Andrew.
Yes, it was. At first, we were real good friends. Like, and one day it seemed like between his friends, his brother, and my friends, like he wanted me to choose between, like.
Do me a favor. Get to the telephone booth.
Oh, the telephone booth. All right. I walked to the phone
booth. And I
booth.
want you to do something for me.
Yeah.
I want you to try to say a sentence without the word like.
All right. I walked to the phone booth to make a phone call. I called my mom, tell her I was gonna be late. I hung up the phone, and then I reached up to grab him by the arm to bring him down.
Why?
Talk to him. Talk to him.
Why didn't you just look up and say, I'd like to talk to you?
He was like mad dogging me and stuff. He was like looking at me like intimidating me, mad dogging, giving me dirty looks. So, you know, I was just like, pull him down.
Andrew, what'd your mother teach you about sticks and stones?
Oh yeah, I know. I just pulled him down and talked to him.
You pulled him down, but he got hurt.
My intent was not for him to get hurt. He tried to brace himself, stop me from pulling him down.
He tried to brace himself so that you couldn't pull him down.
Yeah, causing him to fall.
Yes. So this isn't your fault?
Nah. No.
Andrew, sometimes when you start a situation, you don't intend the consequences of that situation to happen. You know, it's like I've sat in court and I've listened to guys who were charged with driving while they were intoxicated and injuring somebody. And they said to me, oh, I never intended to hurt anybody. I wouldn't hurt anybody. You know, I had something to drink, but it was never my intention to cause that accident. Well, when you start a scenario that's wrong and something happens, then you're responsible. Now I'll hear you. Step up.
First off, we brought a witness because Daniel was telling Tony that he was going to beat Andrew up.
So?
3 days prior to this.
So what? What does that have to do with anything?
He was telling everybody at school he was going to beat Andrew up.
So what does that have to... Madam!
They run into each other at the liquor store. Daniel's giving him dirty looks. He put Andrew into the position of, I want to find out what's going on. Andrew reached up and grabbed him by the arm, pulled him down. Natural instinct when you start to fall. Don't you put your hands down to protect yourself? Or you fall into the person that pulled you down?
So you believe that your son is not responsible for this?
She's ready to rule.
And you don't even remember because you were dazed and confused because you purposely didn't catch yourself.
So you believe that your son is not responsible for this?
No.
Very good. The medical bills in this case are
$25.
Listen to me. The medical bills in this case are $2,500. That's what all these medical bills are, and that's what you owe. And I'm going to tell you something. You haven't taught your son well, and if you continue, listen to me, and if you continue to inculcate him with your excusal philosophy, you're going to find yourself standing in court more often than just today.
No.
Let me tell you why. He went up and took a physical step to pull him down, and he acknowledged to me that he didn't want to be pulled down to talk to him, so he wrapped himself around the phone booth. By the way, was this the only phone booth on the block?
Yes.
If you were having difficulty with him, if you felt intimidated by him and you saw him perched on top of this phone booth, why didn't you go someplace else to make a phone call?
Because that's the only phone.
Andrew?
Yes.
What do you see written on my forehead, Andrew? Not stupid, right? Not stupid, right?
No.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Excuse you, please step out.
On the next Judge Judy.
And they call me.
तो अस्सलाम वालेकुम, कैसे हैं आप सब? उम्मीद करता हूँ आप सब बिल्कुल ठीक होंगे। तो आज हम सिकंदर बलोच के वीडियोस पे रिएक्शन देने वाले हैं, तो हमारे साथ रहिएगा और आप भी इंजॉय कीजिएगा। बहुत ही अच्छी वीडियोस बनाते हैं और आई थिंक इमोशनल कंटेंट है, तो आज हम इनकी वीडियोस पे रिव्यूज देंगे। सबसे पॉपुलर वीडियो देखते हैं जो कि सिकंदर भाई के चैनल पे इस टाइम है, तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं।
देख रहा मेरे पापा गाड़ी पे लेने आएंगे। मेरे पापा ही आते होंगे, रोज की तरह आएंगे और तुझे पैदल ले जाएंगे। शुक्र करो तुम्हें कोई लेने आता है, हमें कोई लेना ही नहीं आता। लगता है तेरे पापा मर गए हैं। वो देख तेरे भीख मांगे पापा।
अरे बेटा, रोज तेरे पैर दुखते हैं ना, आज तुझे मैं कंधे पे ले जाऊंगा।
देख भाई बाप का प्यार देख, क्या प्यार है यार। ये कंटेंट बहुत ही अच्छा है भाई।
लगता है गाड़ी खराब हो गई। पहले से गाड़ी खराब है, ऊपर से तूने दिमाग खराब करके रखा हुआ है। चल पैदल।
अरे वो देखो पापा की गाड़ी। पापा मैं आपका बेटा।
हाँ तो फिर मेरे आगे क्यों आया है?
पापा मैं पराया समझ के छोड़ दिया और वो भी रोड पर। और हाँ भैया उसने माँ ने मुझे भी घर से निकाल दिया। वो नहीं चाहती कि हम घर में रहे। तो बहन हम कहाँ जाएं?
तो बहुत ही अच्छा कंटेंट है, हम भी एंजॉय करें और आप भी एंजॉय करें।
पापा मैं घर लेकर चलो ना। और लोग कहते आप भिखारी हो। और पापा माँ कैसी है? आपका ख्याल तो रखती है ना। और पापा भी माँ के कहने पे मुझे रोड पे छोड़ने आ रहा था।
तो बेटी मैं तो मजबूर हूँ, मैं कर क्या सकता हूँ। और हाँ ये पैसे रख लो, यहाँ पे गुजारा कर लेना। और हाँ खाना टाइम पे खा लेना। ठीक है बेटा मैं चलता हूँ।
पापा मैं पैसे नहीं चाहिए, आपका प्यार चाहिए।
बेटा मैं मजबूर हूँ।
पापा
गरीब का दिल हमेशा बड़ा होता है।
अभी तक गाड़ी नहीं आई, आप लोग यहाँ रुको, मैं गाड़ी देके आता हूँ।
मनहूस यहाँ मेरा बेटा बैठेगा, तू नहीं।
नेक्स्ट वीडियो देखते हैं।
मम्मा कुछ पैसे दो, चीज लेना।
हाँ मैडम जा रहा है कराची।
माँ और बाप का प्यार है ये।
मम्मा मुझे भी चीज लेना है।
हे कमीनी चुप रहे।
क्या हुआ, क्यों चिल्ला रही हो बेटी पे?
नहीं जी कुछ भी बोल रही।
अच्छा गाड़ी नहीं आ रही है
एंजॉय कर रहे हैं, हमारी ऑडियंस एंजॉय कर रही है नहीं? कर रही होगी शायद।
अरे अकेले खा रहे हो, अपनी बहन को भी खिलाओ ना साथ में।
सौतेली है ना, बस सौतेली ही बन कर रहे।
मम्मा मम्मा क्या हुआ, आंधी हो?
सिकंदर आ गया।
देख लिया बेटे और बेटी में फर्क।
देखना मेरे पापा ही आते होंगे। देखना मेरे पापा ही आते होंगे। देखता हूँ तेरे पापा की गाड़ी। अरे चिंटू तेरे पापा।
बेटी हमेशा बेटी
आओ बैठो बेटा।
अरे तितली तेरे पापा।
ये बात है, इसमें भी बहुत अच्छा।
अरे चिंटू के पापा तो बैग पे आए थे, इसके पापा खटारे साइकिल पे आए हैं। अरे अंकल ये रोज आप खटारा पे आते इसलिए इसकी दोस्तों के आगे बेइज्जती होती है। मुझे नहीं जाना आपके साथ। अरे बहन रुको, शुक्र करो आपके पास पापा है, मेरे पास वो भी नहीं है। आपको कोई लेने आता है, मैं तो कोई लेने भी नहीं आता। पापा मुझे माफ कर दो।
अरे बेटी आओ, आपको भी आपके घर छोड़ देते हैं।
नहीं मैं खुद चली जाऊँ, पैदल जाने की आदत पड़ गई है।
अरे इतनी दूर पैदल कैसे जाओगी?
अरे भैया तुझे बोला तो है, पैदल जाने की आदत पड़ गई है।